Guerrilla cricket. Whoa. Guerrilla cricket. Whoa. Guerrilla. Take guard, man the barricades, patrol the cover boundary. At last the time is come, this is a cricketing emergency. Hear this call to arms for every cricket revolutionary. Take up your bats and stumps for the test match insurgency. At first they tried to silence us, but we would not be silenced. They threatened us with lies, so we threatened them with violence. Che Guevara, Sangakkara, Joseph Stalin, Douglas Jardine, Robespierre, Darrell Hare, Vladimir Lenin, O'Brien Kevin, guerrilla cricket. It's not about the winning, it's about how many rules you break. Even in cricket commentary, this is the best advice to take. Pick guerrilla cricket, it's the finest choice you'll ever make. There's so much more to cricket than rev counters and a slice of cake. But first they tried to sanitize us and clean up our act. But people like it filthy, and we know that for a fact. Fidel Castro, Lenny Pascoe, Carlos the Jackal, Umar Akmal, Mahatma Gandhi, Grant and Andy, Brendan Behan, Austin Ian, guerrilla cricket. Stick with us, cause you know we're not the kind of thing that you see on the TV and the radio. So vive la revolution. First they tried to buy us, but we would not be bought. Okay, we were, but then we ran away, and we will not be caught. Would not give up the ghost when they left us all for dead. They decapitated us, but we just grew another head. Chairman Mao, Jamie Howe, Ho Chi Minh, Asif Din, Václav Havel, Graham Saville, No Surrender, Percy Fender, Che Guevara, Sangakkara, Joseph Stalin, Douglas Jardine, Robespierre, Darrell Hare, Vladimir Lenin, O'Brien Kevin, guerrilla cricket.
It was another day of absorbing Test cricket at Edgbaston yesterday, and New Zealand finished with their noses, perhaps even their necks in front. England ended up being indebted to their whirling dervish of an off-spinner, Dan Lawrence, and he has a few balls to bowl before the new ball becomes available. It could be another crucial first hour in Brum this morning. Good morning, good afternoon, good dawn, good dusk, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to Guerrilla Cricket, the home of revolutionary and fearless cricket commentary. I'm Gorilla Hendo, Nigel Henderson, and it's day 3 of the second test and everything to play for. With me this morning, once more in his Claygate castle, flagellating the servants for some unknown disobedience, is Tony Bishop. Hello, Tony.
Good morning, everyone. I'm letting the servants off lightly today. It is
are they having a day off?
Flagellation days are Monday to Friday. I just let them off with just a light beating of the soles of their feet on a Saturday.
Oh, that's very decent of you. It just shows what a good employer you are. And the bear is in Sydenham as ever. He's there, and he's had a very interesting breakfast, but we won't talk about that. How are you this morning, Bear?
I am very well, thank you, Hendo.
Nice day off yesterday, sort of just sunning yourself in the back garden.
No, actually, it was a bloody nightmare.
Oh, God, what happened?
Well, I had to organise kitchens, and that was all a pain in the arse, and then something didn't come through, and then I was supposed to take the daughter for an optician's appointment, and she told me she was leaving school at 2:30. The first one, they phoned us up at 8:30 in the morning and cancelled it. And then we had to go to a different bloody thing because her glasses basically snapped in half the other day. So we booked one at 4 o'clock. She told me she was leaving school at 2:30. Didn't turn up to the house until about 5 to 4, which really pissed me off. We got to the bloody opticians. They said you can't have the appointment because you're 10 minutes late, which of course I fucking went ballistic at. And then they gave us another one at 4:50, which meant I had to hang around in Catford High Street for about half an hour.
Oh, well, no one wants to hang around in Catford High Street for more than about 3 minutes, do they?
Yes.
I wouldn't have thought, having driven through Catford on a couple of occasions. Well, it's almost as complicated a day as Joe Root had in the field yesterday, isn't it? He'd had to keep swapping his bowlers around, and they bowled pretty well, but they just couldn't get the breakthroughs. Great batting again from Devon Conway and from Will Young, but that chink of light at the end of the day, Tony, when the indescribable Lawrence came into the attack and got one to really got rid of Will Young with what turned out to be the final ball of the day. He's got to bowl 3 more balls because he was only halfway through an over when stumps came. But would you be inclined to keep Lawrence wheeling if there's a little bit of turnout there, or would you go straight to the new ball when it becomes due in 3 overs?
Well, how many? I might give him. If it's due in 3 overs, he'll get to finish the over from last night and one more.
Yes.
And then I suspect I might see what happens. I mean, if he does turn it, I think the problem will always be with a part-time spinner. There'll be a lack of control, and England now don't have a lot of runs to play with. Yeah. So on balance, yes, I would expect to see the new ball as soon as it's available, unless he suddenly takes 2 in an over, and we all go, "What's going on?" But
I think. Well, I was going to say, if he takes 2 in an over, that'd be even better. Get the new ball on straight away.
Good point.
I mean, my thoughts yesterday were that we were a little bit unlucky from what I saw. I mean, a beating the bat, but there wasn't as much swing, and I thought that was partly to do because the wind seemed extraordinarily strong yesterday.
Yes.
And I think that didn't help the swing. I think on day one when New Zealand was swinging it a lot, it was a lot stiller, and all that, and it was quite humid, so the ball swang. But yesterday it wasn't so humid. And there was about a 20-mile-an-hour wind, which really hampered the swing, which was kind of annoying.
I think they measure wind in knots, don't they?
Yeah,
do they?
Not on the news. They don't.
Oh, okay.
They do.
It could be Evans's, or it might be Ames's.
Very good, Tony. Wicket-keeper joke there for all of you out there who didn't get it. I'm sure there were millions of you. I'll have a look at the Twitter sphere in a minute, because normally at this time of the morning you pile in. You're so excited to get a new day underway. There's a bit of blue sky. There's certainly some sunshine. There's a bit of heavy cloud on the periphery, but we shall see how that develops. Let's jingle up those who will be involved this morning. It will be Henry Nicholls, I imagine, coming out to face the dervish that is Dan.
Let's have these jingles.
10, 20, 30, 40, 50 and more. You know Henry Nicholls is racking up the score. Dozens of bowlers try to bring him down. Henry Nicholls just laughs and goes to town.
Dang, the batting man. You want some runs? Dang, comes from Finkford, drives a van.
His dad does a grand with a watering can.
He comes from Essex.
And finally, no gun.
One.
Okay.
Wouldn't it be good to be Ross Taylor, even with his old making boat? Wouldn't it be good to be Ross Taylor to anyone?
I think it probably has been quite good to be Ross Taylor. He's scored an enormous number of runs, over 7,000 in Test cricket, and in comes the whirling dervish round the wicket to Henry Nicholls, who presses forward emphatically and says, "You shall not pass, you shall not spin past my outside edge," and defends back to the bowler. 2 balls remaining in this over. Dan Lawrence couldn't ever have imagined opening the day of Test cricket, or a day of Test cricket, in his life as a bowler, but here he is. It's got a slip and a short square leg, and he bowls him a full toss, which he paddle sweeps down to long leg, and they will take a single. He will run through for his first run of the morning, and New Zealand started off 74 runs adrift of England's 303. They've now reduced that to 73. I do have to say that you wonder why Will Young was pushing so much out at Dan Lawrence last night. You felt like he may have just waited for that ball a little bit more late in the day. He probably didn't expect him to get anything like the turn that he did. He's now got 2 men close in on the onside, a slip and a shortish mid-wicket for Ross Taylor, a man who likes to shovel the ball into the onside. 97 balls for his 46, one of the worst 46s I've ever seen. However, he's still there. That's the important thing as far as New Zealand are concerned. Lawrence, for the final ball of the over, switches back to over the wicket. He's into Taylor, who defends the ball with a little bit of turn to that short mid-wicket. And that is maybe all we'll see of Dan Lawrence. We may see one more over him. 230 for 3. Who has joined us on social media this morning, Tony?
Well, Muttley has joined us and said, woof. He said, well, I lasted for about 10 minutes before I felt the need for a nap. No, this was yesterday. Hopefully I will fare better today. Love and sausages. Mog is being verbally economical. Simply says hello.
Hello, Mog.
Hello, Mog.
Leah says, polishing up a German explanation of the laws. What better soundtrack to do that than the Gorillas? Yes. Okay, thank you. Farong, greetings from Dhaka. Hope everyone is well. Really looking forward to this session. New ball not far away. 2 batsmen settled at the crease.
No.
No.
One. Well, they were, unless you missed that last ball last night, perhaps.
Unless you missed the last ball last night. Yeah, expecting some fireworks from the pace attack. Bring it on. Peter Ward says, morning all, that Dan Lawrence jingle is quite something. It is, isn't it? We like it. And I'll quickly say hello to Jeff Thomas. Good morning, Gorillas. Looking forward to a successful day for English cricket at Edgbaston. Andrew Cook. Ross has certainly seen a good number of New Zealand captains come and go, including himself.
That's right. I was going to say, yes, including himself.
That's over on YouTube.
Okay, thank you very much, all of you, for joining.
Can I just say, Farong has said his normal hello from Dakar on Hot Mic, but he sent in some Sanskrit this morning.
Oh,
I don't know what it means.
Well, we'll have to find out. 2 slips for Stuart Broad. Oh, we should jingle him up in a minute. He's going to bowl his first ball from round the wicket to the left-handed Henry Nicholls. And in he comes and bowls right up in the leg slot, really. And he steers that away deep towards Cow Corner, where Crawley has to make a lot of ground to his right to field. And they should have got back for 3. They have. So Broad rather sort of shaking his head as he walked back to the end of his mark. He got his line wrong there with that first delivery. Of course, he has got a very good record against Ross Taylor, and if he can get through Ross Taylor here, all of England will be hailing him. He's just taking guard, is the New Zealander, 37 years old now. And I know he hasn't said anything about retirement, but I just get the feeling he's coming to the end of his Test career, just looking at him out there. That said, it's always good to have experience out there, and with some sort of younger and newer players coming through, maybe his voice is one that is very much an important one in the New Zealand setup. Someone's saying he sort of stoops, doesn't he, a little bit, as Broad comes in outside the off stump. He defends into the offside, but he's quick to spot the single. Going to have to hurry. Direct hit, but I think Henry Nicholls has got there. Exciting moments early in the day, but England not particularly interested. Good work by the thrower, who I suspect was Lawrence, but I'm not 100% sure. Anyway, 233 for 3. Have we got time to sneak in a tweet, do you think, Tony?
Yeah, Tony Martinez says Ross will come good once he hits 80. Warren says, morning all, enjoying a Capola and some rich tea biscuits. By the way, I don't think the Hot Mic app is live. I think it is now.
It was. I did do a TV sync, but now it's saying it's not TV synced and on commentary. So I will go in a sec between overs probably and try and redo that again.
We will get our enormous staff of engineers onto that immediately.
Me?
Yeah, you do. Well, you are quite enormous, so obviously. Yeah, right up in the block hole this time from Broad. That's what he was trying to do the first ball. Much better line. Nicholls steers this one up to mid-on, no further.
I'll have you know, I've shrunk quite considerably over the last 12 months.
Well, I've not seen you in the flesh for many a day, and seeing the bear in the flesh is quite a frightening prospect. But I happily admit, well, not happily, but I do admit that I must have put on about 1.5 stone in lockdown. So. It'll be even harder to get up that hill at Sydenham when we do get back there. Onto the front foot comes Nicholls, defends up to mid-off. I can hear a little bird tweeting in the background of Tony's garden, which is always welcome.
It's like Bambi in your back garden, isn't it?
Isn't this beautiful? Like a lovely Disney film.
Exactly.
Little butterflies.
The fox was asleep under the arch this morning.
Oh.
And didn't move when I opened the doors. He seemed quite happy, just sunning himself.
understand that. If you're a fox, I probably feel the same way. Find myself a good garden, and it is a good garden, I can tell you. Actually, we make a really good cricket pitch, actually, in the back of Tony's garden. Flicked up to mid-on, this time by Henry Nicholls, who already looks in quite good nick, which is a little bit worrying for England. He got 61 and 23 at Lords, and he's been on a bit of a run in the winter. He got a couple of hundreds, so he's looking very pleased with life at the moment, and very confident in his movements at the crease. Sunshine is out, so that will mitigate against swing, should the new ball do any of that. We haven't got the new ball yet. Broad is in, bowls to Nicholls. Nicholls drives quite comfortably and quite elegantly up to mid-off, and there is no run. That is the end of Broad's first over of the morning. New Zealand have advanced by 5 runs so far to 234 for 3. Tony?
Yes, Lefty Addick at Club Chaplin says, given England's performances so far this series, it is clearly time they called up Darren Stevens. I mean, he's probably only got another 5 years left at this level. And there is a picture attached with him looking quite magnificent, I must say.
Well, we did talk about Darren Stevens being in this team yesterday, because, as I said, Fabian Cowdrey put out a naughty little tweet claiming that breaking news in the run-up to the second test, Darren Stevens had been called into the England team, and some people believed it.
Well,
but I mean, I don't think he would let anyone down, to be honest.
No, he probably wouldn't. But he'd probably swing it in these conditions as well, quite a lot.
He would, yeah.
Did anyone read the Andy Bull article in the Guardian?
Not this morning, no. Tell us more about that after this ball. It's Dan Lawrence coming in to bowl. Oh, now it's popped, and if there had been a leg slip, there might have been a catch. As it is, Ross Taylor is going to pick himself up 4 runs to fine leg, and that, I believe, will be his 50, unless of course it was just leg buys. Not quite sure. He's not reacting, so I'm guessing that's turned just onto the pad and then flipped away down to fine legs. Taylor remains on 47, 238 for 3.
He seems to be asking the umpire, didn't I hit that? And the umpire
didn't I hit that? He said, can I have a 50 please? I mean, I haven't had that many in Test cricket. I would like another one. No, it's not been given. It's been given as leg buys, apparently.
I'd be interested to see if Lawrence were to go round the wicket to the right-handers. It'd be quite fun.
That's not a bad call either. For the moment he's staying over. Now the leg slip does come in. We've got a short square leg as well and a slip. A man at backwards square, mid-on, extra cover and mid-off, who are quite close together. He's in. He's going to sweep now. He's not going to take any of this nonsense, and he's going to sweep for 4. Ross Taylor says, now tell me that's leg buys. He goes to yet another Test 50, his 35th to go with 1900s in 107 Test matches. What a player he has been.
1, 2, 3, 4.
50 runs, your 50 runs. Well done, well done, well done, well done. 50 runs, your 50 runs. The job has only just begun.
Here he comes again, Lawrence. It's a horrible, nasty full toss way outside off stump, and it surprised Ross Taylor that he could do nothing more than cut it into the ground and pick up a rather rusty single, really. It really was a horror delivery. And now that was off the face of the bat, that 4, so he should have had 55 by now. Massive inside edge. That would have been caught had they had a leg slip, but then they put the leg slip in a ball too late. Horses, bolted, stables, all that sort of stuff. Short nonsense from Lawrence. Got to get him out of the attack. Let's get out to the man on the boundary, Crawley, and they pick up another single. He's getting away with bowling terrible balls, and they're only going for singles. I suppose if you put enough people on the boundary, you sometimes get away with that. New Zealand trailed by 59. England need that new ball. They need that new ball, and they need Anderson to fire. Richard Illingworth, a couple of dodgy decisions from him. I mean, the LBW he gave against Ross Taylor last night, I thought was awful. Didn't look out on at full speed, and it certainly wasn't. Lawrence in again, that's a better ball, and they're still going to get a single as it's jabbed into the offside. Bracey has to run from the stumps to do the fielding, and through they come. This is messing with England's heads a little bit. They've already reduced by 16 the deficit. They're 245 for 3. They're a little bit like England yesterday morning. They came out in attacking fashion. in the form of Mark Wood. Today it's Nichols and Ross Taylor. He's got a chance to bowl at the left-hander, Lawrence. What can he produce with what will probably be his final ball in this innings? He's in, bowls to Nichols, who just turns this one towards mid-wicket. And that is the end of the over. New Zealand 245 for 3. Tony?
Yeah, Andrew Cook says, just the one pitch in Tony's garden. The castle grounds clearly aren't as big as I was thinking. I would have thought at least 2. Yeah, you could get 2 side by side, to be honest. We did have a plan to do that, the boys and I, but it was vetoed by the management committee. Tharong says, yes, I forgot about that late wicket last night. Damn that whiskey. Muttley says, should have had whiskey instead. Grand Theft Auto says, website audio is a bit glitchy.
Nothing to do about that. That'll be off the server. It comes in, refresh, empty your cache, do whatever, restart. Try tune in. There's also you got Hotmine, YouTube, Facebook. Somewhere it'll be working.
I'm laughing at Mog's next tweet, which is a bit unfair because no one else has heard it yet.
No, I liked it. I've seen it already. It's a good one. We should wait until the next ball is bowled. Broad is going to bowl it. We don't want to hurry it because it's a beautiful thing. Broad then 2 for 26 has bowled 16 overs and he's over the wicket to Taylor. Hits him on the pad. A big appeal. That's going down the leg side, Broady. How can you not see that? You've been playing professional cricket for God knows how many years.
It's a bit similar to the yesterday's, though.
It is.
That was given.
Near. It's just nowhere near. I hate appeals when LBWs are nowhere near. It annoys me. It offends my sense of fair play.
Well, at least we haven't burned our reviews, like last test.
Well, yes, indeed. He's looking for the leg cutter from leg stump, and I mean, it's impacted outside leg stump.
Going further.
It's going further. It's a ridiculous appeal. Anyway, so maybe he just thinks because Taylor's been out so many times to him that he's bound to be out to one of them. He's on 53 now, and Broad is in. He's got 2 slips. He bowls and he gets in front of his pad. Now that if that had hit his pad would have been worth appealing for, but he manages to lean round that front pad as he so often does and plays it to mid wicket, and there is no run. Tell us that tweet, Tony.
Oh yes, Mog says, I understand Tony can't point at anything in his garden because if he does, 10,000 birds immediately try to land on his finger and start singing.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thought, isn't it? It's just nature, and it's
like Snow White, wasn't it? Snow White, where they all land on it. Yeah.
I think there are butterflies everywhere. Even the dragonfly are friendly. Broad in again, bowls on the line of off stump, pushed up to mid off by Ross Taylor, and there is no run.
I mean, there was that ball yesterday that Broady bowled to Ross Taylor. How it didn't get a wicket, I don't know.
Oh, that was a beauty, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it swung in and then it went away. It was an absolute corker of a delivery.
So you want me to tell Andy Bull's theory?
Oh yes, go ahead.
Well, Andy Bull, he's been basically talking what we're doing about Wokes and stuff, and why aren't these players in the side? And the England management seems to be treating the team like a sort of revolving door, just based on the Ashes for the winter.
Yeah, come back to that. Broad outside the off stump, powerful drive by Ross Taylor. That's more like the Ross Taylor we've known and come to love, and that will bring him 4 runs.
1, 2, 3, 4.
That was a lovely shot, wasn't it? Got
It
right
was.
forward.
Tell us more about Andy Bull.
Well, no, he was saying, why isn't Wokes playing? You know, what's Wokes done? Much like Fred's point, you know, the guy's hardly played any cricket. So what? He's been in the IPL. You know, it used to be that international teams are international teams, and they kept them together because a winning side was a winning side. And you know, whilst the pandemic is there, you know, some of these players have hardly done anything over the last year.
It's sort of one size fits all kind of approach, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, rather than looking at these players individually, this is pushed firmly up to mid on by Taylor, and there is no run. Yeah, and I mean, you know, you can say yes, he's been in bubbles, and yes, he hasn't seen his family, maybe, but I'm convinced that Wokes would have loved to have played in these 2 tests.
Yeah.
He's not going to make a noise about. He's not going to make a noise about it, is it? Well, a home ground, and also at Lord's, where he's performed extremely well. So it does seem odd.
He was England's Player of the Year last year.
Yeah.
I mean, hardly played for 11 months.
Also, I mean, what a batsman where he, you know, at number 8. To have him at number 8 is fantastic. In comes Broad, and he wrapped Taylor right high up on the breastbone there, with a little bit of inside edge involved as well. It certainly surprised the New Zealand batsman. That is the end of the over, and here are more tweets from Tony.
Yes, indeed. Alexander Sutcliffe says, hello from Berlin, where rain means it's just me and various aquatic birds listening at the lake to guerrilla cricket. It's going to be lovely to see a Taylor ton up. Yeah, well, how about that? I'd love to know what aquatic birds do you have for company there, Alexander? Do let us know. Farong says we have the Scottish variety, hence the spelling. That's whiskey. He's talking about not aquatic birds. Warren says Lawrence's action is reminiscent of a puppet with one string cut, being worked by a puppeteer who's had one too many.
That's a very good description, actually. We should actually encourage you to send in your descriptions of Dan Lawrence's bowling, because I'm running out of ideas. I've tried the whirling dervish, I've tried the ice skating ballerina, but that one from Warren is particularly good.
Peter Ward says Tony Bishop is the gorilla's very own Dr. Dolittle.
Yeah, exactly. Right, we have this bowler's coming to the attack.
Jimmy was a local boy, but he seen much more than the change in the weather. Sitting in a uniform of a three-piece suit and the ribbons from his past.
That is because
You balls, please.
It is indeed the new ball being taken by Jimmy Anderson. He's got 3 slips, no gully, backward point, extra cover, or cover really, more than extra, a mid-off. That's the offside field. He's into Henry Nicholls, who goes up on his toes to defend a back of a length delivery. The ball runs up towards mid-off, and there is no run. Tony.
Farong says woeful punishment. Shakib Al Hassan has been banned for 4 matches. Woeful, I suspect, in meaning not long enough. DK says good morning over on YouTube, so good morning to you, DK.
Good morning. Good morning.
indeed.
I'm seeing some interesting things trending on Twitter. John Redwood, don't know what he's been up to. Outside the off stump, too wide. Nicholls shapes the cut and then leaves it. John Redwood was
being a
and
twat.
still is. Yes, but he was the MP of the town in which I made my journalistic debut in Wokingham, and it was a man who spoke so quickly, even someone with 180 words per minute shorthand would have been left completely dumb by it. That was in the day before recorders, really, and so only really ever got one in about 5 of his words. Onto the back foot goes Nicholls, and defends into the onside a little bit uncomfortably as it rises on him. And he's proved himself to be a bit of an annoying character, hasn't he, throughout his political career.
John Redwood.
Yeah.
That man is an odious
backbenching, anti-lockdown kind of a guy.
Oh, he's a right-wing loon. I mean,
that's what I'm saying. That's a right-wing loon, anti-lockdown.
He's in it for the money as well. I mean, that man is just fucking arsehole.
He was Welsh secretary, wasn't he, in the John Major government, if I remember. Oh my word, that's an incredible leave by Henry Nicholls. That kept on coming into him on the angle from Anderson, and didn't clear the stumps by a lot. It must have been left on length. Oh, it's missed by a fair way, actually, but it's still a hell of a judgment from Nicholls. Certainly on line, you would have been worried by it. 249 for 3, 54 behind New Zealand. Crowd of 17,000 in at Edgbaston again. In comes Anderson. There's no swing from it. It's down the leg side. It may have brushed the pad brace. He manages to get a glove on it as he dives. Runs away from him. They'll have got through for a bye, I suspect. And New Zealand's 250 comes up. 250 for 3. It is indeed a bye. Didn't touch anything, but poor old Bracey has been penalised with a few byes that really should have been wide, and I think they need to sort out this thing between what is a wide in one-day cricket and what is a wide in any other form of cricket, because you can get a wide for missing the leg stump by an inch in one-day cricket, and then you can bowl it a yard wide of the leg stump in Test cricket, giving the wicketkeeper absolutely no chance, and 4 byes go against him. It's not right. It's not right, I tell you. Anderson over the wicket to Ross Taylor. He's in, bowls. There's a little bit of gentle swing, but nothing more. He leaves it outside the off stump, 81 miles an hour from England's most capped player, and that is the end of the over.
Maybe bye should go against the bowler then, if they're shit balls down the leg side that the wicketkeeper can't, get to.
Well, as in runs, I suppose. Yeah. That's
not a bad idea. Over on YouTube, Andrew Cook and Greg Wilson are discussing Ross Taylor. Andrew Cook saying likelihood of Taylor being the 3rd New Zealand player to reach 80. Greg Wilson is saying 100%. I would say, and he'll go on marching past 100. Peter Ward is suggesting Dan Lawrence's action. I assume you've already used the frog in a blender. Yeah, that's the chap who plays for, is it Nepal?
Oh, well, there's
Sorry,
no. There's a
original.
guy who plays for Sri Lanka, isn't there? I think was it Sri Lanka?
Was he the original frog in a blender?
No, the original frog in the blender was Paul Adams of
Yeah.
South Africa.
Oh yes, it was. That's right. Yeah, whose head disappears when he bowls.
Yes, totally. But there was we did an article about a guy. I think it was a Sri Lankan, or was it? It may have been a Nepal player. It was right at the beginning of when we started
Yes.
writing for the website. Extraordinary action outside the off stump to Henry Nicholls. Broad starts his first over with the new ball, but it's too wide and it's left alone. The unfortunate thing for England is that the new ball has come at a time when probably the weather is at its best. There is a bit of cloud around, but it's not that humid from what I can tell. There isn't that sort of heaviness that New Zealand benefited from a little bit on the first afternoon. They've just got to probe away, haven't they? They've got two of the most experienced players in Test cricket out there. They've got to do their stuff. Broad in again, bowls to Nicholls. Nicholls has a little flash at that one and gets it, fair enough. I thought for a moment he was going to edge that, but it's gone away through extra cover. 2 men after it. Ollie Pope is the one that gets there. He hurls it back to Wood, and they get through for another 3. The run's coming just too easily this morning for New Zealand. They now trail by just 53.
Linda Thomas is with us saying hello from Sydney, watching Taylor batting against Broad. Fab, gritty innings so far. Yeah, he's doing very well indeed. And Chirac S says, hey guys, what are the consequences of unregulated urban development? Not sure what that question relates to.
Not very
He's
good.
addressed specifically to us.
Well, I'm not a big fan of unregulated urban development because I appear to be having an enormous block of flats built literally right opposite, so that the people on the scaffolding can see into my front room and they can see me commentating. So I'm not too pleased about that, but this is life, isn't it? This is life. Any patch of ground these days. Broad in, bowls to Taylor. Taylor pushes that from the line of off stump on the angle up to mid on, and there is no run. I've even had to take contingency plans, really, or contingency measures. I've had to have another television installed upstairs whereby I can plug in with a long cable up there, so that if the noise of the building gets too much during the summer, I can retreat to the bedroom and hopefully you'll be able to hear me. Otherwise, not sure what's going to happen, unless of course we're back at Sydenham, which would be good. Here is Broad, 2 for 33 into Taylor. Taylor drives and Broad takes evasive action, manages to palm it away from sort of around about shoulder height, runs behind the stumps for a single, and Wood does the fielding. From what I've seen this morning, it could be a long, hard day for England.
Did you listen to Broady this morning on the interview he was having this morning?
I didn't know.
Well, he was saying that the balls this summer, because obviously they choose the balls for the summer, he said that virtually every innings they've gone out of shape. And weirdly, this year they're not really swinging until they're about 8 or 9 overs old.
Well, that makes sense, because New Zealand didn't swing it at all, did they, in the early part of day one? Broad in again, bowls to Nicholls. Nicholls leaves this one back of a length outside the off stump. I mean, the thing is, you wonder, is that a bowler blaming his tools to a certain extent? It's just not working for him at the moment. He's certainly getting movement. He is getting movement off the pitch. That would kind of suggest that the swing isn't there, but there is a little bit of movement for him there. But I think it's coming off the pitch too slowly, or too comfortably for the batsman. We saw Henry Nicholls play one shot through the extra cover region just now. This one he leaves outside the off stump, which has got good carry through to Bracey. But I think why I was taken aback was because there was absolutely no foot movement, and he was following the ball as it moved, but he had time to do that. It didn't sort of rip through and find the edge. That's the end of the over. 254 for 3. Tony.
Warren, how many Test wicket keepers have given away more runs buys than they have scored? Poor old Bracey will certainly. I don't know. I'm sure he's in some other company. Ravi Nair says, so the mad marionette Lawrence is not given the new ball. No, for wrong. Sends a picture of a wizard or a druid with a big pot. What was the name of the druid from Asterisks? I read the comics as a child. I'm pretty sure that was Getafix, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I thought
Obelix
you might know the
was
answer
his
to that
big
one
fat
there.
mate, wasn't it?
Leah says, I better hold on.
Anderson into Taylor, who somehow pods this out on the offside. It was responding to a little bit of movement, but not a great deal. There is no run. Carry on.
Leo was saying must have been Shival Kushik, who's from India. That's not answering the question about the druid from Asterix. I learnt all of my basic French by reading Asterix. When I moved to Paris and lived in France, my best way of learning what the little French I got was by reading Asterix cartoons. It was a very good way to learn the language.
That's made for some interesting conversations in bars.
Yeah.
Anderson in, Bowles, and Taylor again onto the back foot, and then steering it into the offside.
How many catches did we drop yesterday, by the way? There was one
we only dropped the one catch, didn't we?
Well, we did drop it 3 times.
Yes. That was Joe Root, and then of course there was the controversy involving Devon Conway. So really, I don't think England did too badly, but I suppose it was quite an important drop because Young went on to add another 75 runs. But then again, someone else might have come in and got those 75 themselves. You can't always talk in those terms. In comes Anderson again. Bowles. Oh, he's driven at that one. It's gone flying off an outside edge. Taylor is just enjoying himself. He's thinking, I'm 37, I can do what I like. And he smashed that back with a point for 4 runs. He's really taking the attitude of... if it's out there, I'm going to hit it. I'm going to hit it damn hard. Burns threw himself at backward point, but it was probably a good 3 or 4 meters away from him. And Anderson's not used to that sort of treatment, and he may be a little upset. Let's see what he can come back with. On his record-breaking appearance, he's got none for 49 halfway through his 20th over. He'll want some reward. He's in, he bowls, and that's a glorious shot. That was on the up. It's gone in pretty much the same position, but it's gone all the way along the ground, and it's a second boundary in a row for Ross Taylor.
That went like a tracer bullet.
Well, they've certainly started off pretty meaningfully, haven't they, the Kiwis? I was hoping the new ball would slow things down, but it doesn't seem to have done.
No, that was a really good shot from Taylor. He's actually blossoming after a really hard battle yesterday, and it just shows you if you stay in, you can pick up runs.
He got quite a working over by Stuart Broad, didn't he? At one point, it was teasing him all over the place.
But he's still there. That's the thing, isn't it? Anderson into him again. This one does swing a little bit, but he plays it well with a full face of the bat up to mid-on. And there is no run. 262 for 3. They started 74 adrift. They're now only 41 adrift. They've lost no wickets in the first 28 minutes this morning. And it could be a long, hard day. A long day of hard yakka for England.
What I did notice yesterday as well, at one point they had the stats up for the two teams and the averages for the top 6.
Anderson again, that's a better ball that just jumps a little bit on Taylor as he comes forward. But he plays it well enough into the offside. That is the end of the over. Carry on, Bear, what were you saying?
Well, England's top 6, there's only Root in this top 6 who averages over 40. And even if you bring Stokes and Butler back, he's still the only one who averages over 40.
Yeah.
And the Kiwis top order, everyone averages over 40 bar 1, and this is a second 11.
Yeah, and we were saying yesterday, Young became the 10th of 11 players in this team to have scored a Test 50 yesterday, and he's only in his 3rd Test. The only player in this actual 11 who hasn't now scored Test 50 is Ajaz Patel, and you probably wouldn't expect him to. It's difficult. You look at the averages and you think someone's doing quite well in county cricket, and you still look at their averages and you find they're about 38. It's not really enough, is it? Outside the off stump from Broad, left alone by Nichols. You want to see these guys in county cricket. I know perhaps because you play so much more county cricket in the early part of the summer now that maybe those averages are sort of pushing down in general. But you want to see players over 40, really, in an ideal situation. And someone said yesterday, a lot of these players are having to learn their craft in Test cricket.
Yeah.
As opposed to coming in fully formed. Broad in again to Nichols. Oh, a short one. Nichols is onto the back foot and defends it. Didn't get up as much as he probably expected, or nor Broad. And just angled into the offside. 262 for 3. We'll have a change at the end of the over. We've got Al coming in. We've got Forthy all the way from Melbourne. And Messi Jez. So we will be sort of contracting out our commentary mainly to Australia in the next half hour. Although we do have Al in the northwest, west of England.
Western Australia and the Wirral.
Indeed, exactly. Perfect. Broad in again. Bowls to Nichols. Nichols turns this off his legs, but a good piece of fielding at mid-wicket. That looked as if it was going to fly away for another boundary, but Lawrence has done very well. There's obviously his puppeteer was working particularly impressively there. Put him to get his left arm down at the same time as his right arm. Tremendous stuff.
Just one tweet I must read before I disappear.
Okay. Well, we've got 3 more balls before we have to change. And Nichols is he's only on 8 from 21, but he's looking in good nick. Worryingly good nick as far as England are concerned. Here comes Broad 2 for 34. He needs a third. He's in. He bowls across Nichols now as he switched it over the wicket, trying something different, and Nichols just leaves it as it goes through to Bracey. 262 for 3. Taylor has looked good this morning. 66. Nichols 8. Also looked pretty good this morning. And England desperate for this breakthrough. I thought perhaps the new ball, England might pick up 2 or 3 wickets in this hour, but it almost looks as if a New Zealand batsman is going to have to make a mistake for that to happen. Broad races in again and bowls a short one up into the armpit, and that did discomfort Nichols a little bit. He pretends that he got his bat cleverly out of the way of that, but I think he was having a little nibble at it. Bracey takes it high to his right, and there is no run. I mean, look at the consistency at the top of that New Zealand order. Latham, okay, 6, got a good ball from Broad. Conway 80, Young 82, Taylor 66. Still got Blundell and Mitchell to come before what you would call the tail starts with Henry. But when you see Wagner, the way he's been playing, coming in at number 9, that again is more cause for worry for England. Fuller ball outside the off stump, just dabbed down to third slip by Nichols. That's the end of the over. 262 for 3. Nichols 8, Taylor 66. New Zealand trailed by 41. And after Tony, you can see a couple more tweets.
Oh yeah.
Time for Owl and Forthy.
Yep. It was a message on through our Twitter Messenger. Actually, it's from Twit to Woo, who says that's why gorillas beat the Beeb. Where else can you learn that the best way to learn French is to read Asterix? Greetings from a sunny and warm Pal. Well, greetings to you too. I shall leave the rest of the tweets to my successor. Take care all.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you, Hendo. Thank you, Bear. New Zealand are 41 runs behind, 262 for 3 after this opening skirmish of day 3. Taylor is 66. Nichols is 8. I am the aforementioned Al Hotch, and with me is Messi Jez. Hello, Jez.
G'day, Al. How are you? How's the Wirral?
Probably not nearly as beautiful as Western Australia, as Anderson is in. And an attempted straight drive there by Taylor, which Anderson half stops with the boot, but they'll go through for a single, and Taylor goes on to 67. And also with me, hello, Forthy. How you doing?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Yes, I'm afraid I can't contribute a W. I'm from Melbourne, no Wirral or West Australia, but here I am.
The W is purely optional. Purely optional.
Well, Melbourne had the distinction this week of having the most interesting street in the world, according to Time Out. So,
I missed that.
Yeah, it's it's also very high on the livability index, so you'll live forever, probably, Forthy.
It's good to hear. Actually, we're pretty disappointed. We tumbled down from being first in quite a few years recently, but last year seen us plunge down to about 8th, I think.
Oh dear.
There's been
a
brief check of the ball. Anderson is in. Back of the length to Nichols, who just stabs this down towards goalie, and there's no run. I don't want to talk to you about, life expectancy on the Wirral, but we don't sell many 80th birthday cards. We do try to buy 240s instead.
Yeah, fair point. But yeah, you get full value for the years that you do have, so
yeah. Here for a good time, not a long time.
Yeah.
The Anderson's boot may well have begun the misshaping process more than the middle of Nichols's bat, as that is jabbing in towards him, and comes off hip, and it's caught by Crawley at second slip, but there's a half appeal. Anderson looks fairly much bemused, and umpire Illingworth looks as if the whole thing's been a waste of his time. But he was trying to just glide that away onto the leg side, and it tucked him up for room, but caught the upper thigh of his front leg, and then nicely caught by Crawley, but just a very polite appeal by Anderson, just like a half hand. How's that? Next ball, back of a length again, but Nichols just dabs this to mid-wicket, and there's no run. 2-6-3 for 3. So do we think...
Yeah,
Sorry,
my
Jeff?
sense... Well, I was just going to say, my sense is that a lot rests with Taylor. He's looking much more comfortable today, and if he can keep going in his current mode, I think England may be in for a good deal of pain today.
Well, he seems to have straightened up his stance a little bit. He's less open than he was in the first test, as that is left alone by Nichols, and just goes through to Bracey, and there's no run. Yeah, they...
quick comment.
Sorry, Ian.
Quick comment on life expectancy. I think the first pension came in with Bismarck in about 1870, and his actuaries said you only need to worry about 4 years after they retire from the army, and that's what pensions were originally based on. 4 years from, I think, the age of 60.
It's about half time now, isn't it? And that's a slightly more pitched up ball, which is just pushed back to the bowler, and that is the end of the over. Who's on social media?
Oh, that would be me. Let's see just where we've got up to. There's quite a lot about Asterix. Let me just plunge in. Faron, what was the name of the druid from Asterix? I read the comics as a child. Leah must have been Shival Kaushik, who's from India. Not sure that's an answer to the previous one.
I don't think so.
No, I think Getafix might be the answer.
I think that's what Tony might have said. But Tony admitted that he read them in Paris, and that's how he learned some of his French.
I like Go.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No. Tweet.
Well, I'll talk then as Broad comes in to start his over, and that is just on off stump, which Taylor turns to mid-wicket very quickly. A very sharp single, but Nichols is absolutely on the money, and Crawley has no chance even to run down the stumps. That's really good running. And if the New Zealanders are going to take the quick singles, then it really might be a long day.
They did that very well yesterday too. Yeah, sorry, I'm very conscious of the fact that time for tweets is often very limited, so I'm sorry I cut across you.
Oh, not at all. I find my timing's always a bit off in the first 5 minutes. I'm still getting used to this, but I get into the swing of it by the time it's time to come off air.
Yeah, that's about me with doing this stuff as well, and that is going across Nichols, slightly back of a length, and the ball is just dropped no more than 2 yards away from where Nichols was standing, but by the time that Bracey manages to get there, Taylor's already through for a single. So just put the tweets in between balls. Fourth thing, we'll get into that.
No, I don't want to take up valuable Messi time either. But Christ the Choir does confirm at Getafix, not to be confused with the deep fix is the answer to that conundrum. He also adds, apparently the crowd makes all the difference. Shudder to think what position would England be in without it then.
Absolutely, and that's short and pulled away by Taylor, but Crawley standing in the Bears' aforementioned mid-wicket position is able to stop a boundary. Good work there, and there's no run. But Taylor looks like he's in the mood, Jez.
He certainly does. He looked like he was battling yesterday, but it looks like he's had an injection to loosen himself up today.
I think you can get inside your own head, I think, and you can become so concentrated on the mechanics that you sometimes forget that this is the more natural it can feel, the better you'll be, I guess. Broad in, and again short, and that's been pulled and maybe top edged, and that has been spilled. If it ever got to him at all, there is a me see, who is that there that's in the deep? I think that might be Lawrence, I think.
I think that certainly was catchable.
So it's taken a top edge. Taylor it's gone above his eye line as he's tried to, and so the field has come in, and it's been spilled. Yeah,
is it Dom Bess down there? I think it's Dom Bess.
You must, in which case he's on as a substitute for someone.
That's the worst possible game for Dom Bess, isn't it? You don't get to play, but you get to drop a catch. Oh dear.
Yes.
He blames himself standing there at long leg as Broad continues the short attack, and that's gone through Bracey. It didn't really swing, it was just a little bit down the leg side, and Bracey may have put himself in a position where the ball's going to go above him, and that's gone for 4 byes.
The ball went through to the keeper. It's me, says she. Somehow let it through, straight through the keeper, went through the keeper, gone through the keeper.
So I have to say we've done an injustice to Dom Bess. It was actually Pope who dropped it.
It was so, yeah. I don't want to do Bracey an injustice, but I really think he should have got closer to that ball. Maybe slightly a bit too high for him, but anyway, and that's on leg stump. And Broad appeals in only the way that Broad can appeal, and by the time he turns round, he finds that the umpire isn't looking at him. So will it go through the usual charade of the DRS time is slowly going towards 0 and Joe Root being bullied by his bowlers? All 3 reviews. 5, 4, 3, and nope, they're going to ignore Stuart Broad. Now that is a turn up for the box, that really is. It did seem like it was pitching outside leg.
It was pitching way outside leg stump.
It was, yeah.
It's
Whenever
typical of Broad.
Whenever we get a minute one of these days, could someone explain to me why you can't get an LBW if it pitches outside leg? That's one of the rules of the game I've never understood. I better get on with some tweets. What's Joe Root's average these days? 34 or so? There was a discussion about comparative averages in both the sides. I think it's about 43, isn't it?
Over 40.
Yeah, at least, yeah.
Leah, pitching outside leg. Sorry, 40.
No worries. Neil Dodunski. Enjoying the commentary from Tauranga, New Zealand. Anywho, how about...
And that's ball is from... And the first ball of the over from Anderson is pitched way outside leg stump, and Bracey's able to take the ball, but no run.
How about giving a plug to an emerging cricket nation, Vietnam Cricket Association, and a further plug for the upcoming Saigon International Sixes? Jez P. Stein doing a great job for VCA. So that's the Saigon Sixes Cricket Tournament, November 5th, 6th and 7th at the Saigon Cricket Ground, D10, and Ladies and Youth Sixes finals on the 7th.
Absolutely. That is again down the leg side, and Bracey moves sharply to be able to take that. Absolutely. We will happily be the favourite guerrilla cricket station for all Vietnam-related cricket events.
Yeah, well, Iceland and Vietnam are 2 big markets, of course.
Is that right?
Oh, Iceland are very much in our pockets, as it were. The Iceland cricket tweet account is a wonderful account to follow, actually.
And that is on off stump and just pushed to the covers by Taylor, and they'll take a single and move on to 70. New Zealand 271 for 3 now, just trading by 32.
So it doesn't look like there's any noticeable swing with the new ball. It's hardly surprising given that there's no overcast at all. But it's not challenging for the New Zealanders. I think basically if they're going to get out the way things are, they're going to get themselves out. Chris, could you mute yourself, please?
Anderson around the wicket, and that's been left again by Nichols. Just on height alone, the line looks like it's about to absolutely demolish off stump as the ball kind of jags back in towards him, but too high, way too high. Although it's getting closer from Anderson, and unfortunately uglily dropped by Bracey behind the stumps. He is he's struggling a little bit out there, Bracey.
Yeah, he is. one has the feeling it's going to be a short Test career at this stage.
Could be. Anderson in again, outside off stump, and Nichols just blocks the ball. It squirts ever so slightly onto the onside field, and there'll be no run. Just one ball left of Anderson's 22nd over. He's 0 for 55 in this record-breaking Test.
He actually hasn't bowled that bad. I think he's bowled a lot better than either Wood or Stone, without any reward at all.
Here comes the last ball of that over. Now, just outside off stump, sound, resolute defence. And that ends the over. Now let's have some more social media.
Indeed. Leah. In German, his name is Miraculix. Still on that theme there. Lefty Addick. Totally agree with you and Rone on the selectors. Disrespectful to New Zealand and wasteful of Woke's talents, amongst others. Australia is not the only fruit. He's also not that impressed with John Redwood, Lefty Addick, to say the least. And Oxymoronica is deeply unimpressed with Shakib Al-Hassan, who's kicked some wickets over and been manned for 4 matches overnight. Mog, I've been warned about this tweet, don't worry. Mog, also, Melbourne is the world's 8th most livable city, even after being locked down for 7,000 years. And I can't read the rest of that tweet, sadly.
We normally read it as being full of Bradmans.
Okay, right. Yes. Well, that's exactly what it reads here. Yes. We've got time for one more. Another one from Mog. I did love me some Asterix as a kid too. The movies have not quite lived up to my early experiences.
No, I don't think. It's funny how some things don't necessarily translate that well into other mediums. But Broad is in for the first ball of his over, and that's again gone through Bracey. A regulation ball really should have been taken by him, and that's gone for another 4 byes.
It's me, Sanshi. It's me, Sanshi.
This really did go through the keeper.
Yeah.
The ball is, to all intents and purposes, it looks like it's knuckling. It's not necessarily spinning as it's going through to him, but these are balls that he should take.
His confidence is shot, poor chap, but it's not nice to watch.
Not nice to watch at all.
Did you say his continence is shot?
No, I did not.
Either way is fine. Broad, wide of the crease, pushed for a quick single by Taylor, and by the time Anderson has even moved a stride, they are through for that single. 276 for 3. Nichols 9, Taylor 71.
I think by lunch that might have gone as well, sadly, at this rate.
Yeah. It's just not nice to watch.
Indeed. 28 extras so far.
Yeah, more than you'd like. The gap is 27 as Broad comes in over the wicket, and that is tucked onto Nichols's hip. He just glances that down to a long leg, and he'll take a single, moving him to double figures. He's looked quite comfortable, Nichols, coming up to bat.
But he's the 6th best test specimen in the world, according to the stats.
Well, I mean, he's really accumulated over the last couple of years, hasn't he? And sort of stayed under the radar while doing it.
Sounds like the whole of the New Zealand team, to be honest.
Classic Kiwis.
I thought you were going to go to your right, and indeed to everybody's right. New Zealand. It's Broad in, and that is pulled away by Taylor, but again he can't beat Crawley in that mid-wicket area, Bear's favourite position. Getting a slight nod of acceptance of good fielding from a good field placement. And Crawley is doing okay.
I'll fit in a tweet or two, shall I? Leah, well, I learnt English so I could play Star Wars miniature battles from West End games when I was in 6th grade, Tony. Let no one say that pop culture is worthless.
I did find out that something was worthless yesterday. It was very interesting. I'll get onto it after this ball.
Okay.
Broad in from again wide of the crease, and that's driven on the up, and that's been stopped by Jimmy Anderson mid-off, and there'll be no run. I found out that Rupert Murdoch has written down the value of the Sun newspaper as £0. So the Sun newspaper is actually worthless.
We knew that already.
That seems entirely appropriate.
Yes.
I think so.
Other than as an organ for Murdoch to create division.
No, surely not. Broad runs in slowly on my screen, so apologies if seems like it's a little bit delayed. And that is pulled by Taylor. And that's a half stop by Crawley again. Wood does the rest of the work, but Taylor takes a single and moves to 72.
Josie Oak, morning from HMP Aurora International Hotel, Gatwick still. I think Josie's in quarantine there. This could be another painful day in the field. Oxymoronica, England have got to get the Don Quixote or Quixote windmill back on. Oh yes, that'll be Lawrence, won't it? Warren, Tony reading Asterix, his chateau. Qu'il mange du gâteau. A little French joke there. Not sure I understood, but... Oh, let them eat cake. Yeah, let them cake, right. Got it. Rebecca, B52, just a really nice smiley emoji from with a Kiwi logo there. We can see why. Very nice. And finally, Christ the Choir, quickly. 1960s comics with stories set during World War II were not as useful for learning German, sadly.
Yeah, nothing ever is. It's going to be Anderson to continue. And that is a full-length ball just outside off stump, and Taylor tries to whip that through the onside, but can only find mid-on, and there'll be no rub. 2-7-8 for 3.
I have to say the image of Tony using Asterix French around France is an interesting one. Particularly, I don't know how accurate the Asterix French is to sort of classical French rather than...
I don't know. Does that keep in line with the bohemian lifestyle I think Tony would have led earlier on in his life, and that is cut by Taylor, but it is stopped again by Crawley. Taylor has a penchant at the moment for having Crawley stop good balls that really should make it to the boundary. Good stop.
Do you remember the film?
Go on.
Remember the film The English Patient and the book where they sent an RAF chap behind the lines to infiltrate in Greece, I think it was, because he spoke Greek. Unfortunately, he only spoke classical Greek, which he'd learnt. It's quite funny, actually. It wasn't a particularly funny book or film, but
I was going to say that you have to work for the humour in The English Patient.
You do indeed.
Anderson in again, and that ball is again outside the off stump, and Taylor is driven, and it's gone past mid-off. Broad has kind of given up the chase already, but Ollie Stone is not giving up on this, and he'll stop it before it gets to the boundary. Broad had managed to stop running so much that he even had to jog on to get the pushback from Stone, so an easily or run 3. A stylish drive there from Taylor.
Indeed. He's looking a different player from yesterday. He really is. He wouldn't have played that shot yesterday at all.
Brings up the 50 partnership, 72 balls.
It's interesting. It's a 50 partnership with only 39 off the bat, which tells you something about Brace's misfortunes.
They've checked the ball again for about the 3rd or 4th time since the new balls come in. I think Anderson, with stopping one with the boot, may well have put the ball essentially the beginning beyond repair, as Nichols just defends that through to point, and there'll be no run.
Well, unless they actually... Yeah. Sorry, go.
No, go ahead, please.
Well, I was going to say, unless they actually put the ball out of shape, which seems unlikely, or tear a piece off it, it seems unlikely they're going to change it simply because they've buggered it out.
I'm not sure what the rules are. We just have this ball, then we'll listen to what Leah said in her tweet in just a second, and that is tucked off the hip by Nichols down to long leg. Wood will do the fielding, and that brings us to the end of the over, I think, or is just one ball left to go? One ball left to go with this over.
Yeah, Leah said Don Bessers left the bubble to play for his county.
Yeah, it might have been Sam Billings. I think it might have been the one who dropped that catch, but
no, it was Ollie Pope.
Was it?
Yeah.
All right. Unfortunate drop as it was. 2 and a bit drops so far. The bit, of course, is the drop that wasn't. And that's a full-length delivery, which again, Taylor drives, and it beats the despairing dive of Broad, and that will go all the way to the boundary. And that goes for 4. Broad is fielding like a bowler at the end of his spell, isn't he?
Oh, yes. I think he's, ever since that drop catch, he's just been pissed off with everything.
Just worth showing.
Belinda Thomas just remembered our trip to Edgbaston. Martin Lawrence, can anyone think of a reason Bess wasn't selected? Roger Millie, I reckon the worst part about dropping a catch in a test is that immediately afterwards, you know, the camera is focused on you, so you can't go F me. Nick Martin, he's not in the Yorkshire T20 squad team though. That's a reference to Don Bess. Josie Oak, who is eating on air. All I can hear is munching a bag of wrestling. I think we fixed that. And Mog, who the hell is warning Forthy about my tweets?
Anyway, half man, half horse, all amazing. We have a change in the bowling, and it's going to be this man.
Do you know Mark Wood?
Yes, he is an England bowler, quite good and pretty quick.
So just a normal guy.
Of course, except for just one thing.
What?
He thinks that he's a horse.
Right. What?
So Broad out of the attack, and it's going to be Wood to bowl his first over today. It's 15th of the innings, and that is moving with an angle around the wicket into Nicholls, and he just dabs this to mid-wicket, and there'll be no run. 286 for 3 New Zealand, trailing now by just 17.
Yeah, it's sort of crept up, hasn't it? Basically, they're in an extraordinarily strong position at the moment if they can go on with this. Since he's taking the bleeding obvious.
It's taken one ball from Mark Wood for Illingworth to come and have a look and see whether he's running onto the track or onto the middle of the wicket. He does have a tendency to fall away, so we'll be falling into that danger zone as that ball is slightly back of a length, but no movement at all, and Nicholls is able to play it on length as much as anything else and just dabs that to point, and there'll be no run.
Well, he has a tendency to fall.
Yes. Yeah. I don't know. Can you be warned for falling on the wicket?
No, you lose 4 points, don't you?
yeah. It's for a fence down or for a refusal.
Yes.
And if he falls down 3 times in the innings, he's taken and shot. Right. Wood running into bowl, and that is again outside off stump and guided past gully by Nicholls, and before anyone else has had a chance to move, that's gone for 4 runs.
There's not one boy for me, I must have 2 or 3, I need 4.
He's well in control of that one, Forthy.
Yes. I just very quickly better read out because he's on 79. Andrew Cook saying likelihood of Taylor being the 3rd New Zealand player to reach 80 this innings. I think you're onto something there. And Greg Wilson replies 100%, I would say, and then he'll go marching past 100.
Well, we will see that in due course as Wood is in and maybe slightly squirted away towards deep square leg by Nicholls as my screen completely freezes, but I'm guessing a single, and that
indeed it was
bring Taylor on to try and get to his 80.
And
I like the way that 80 is the new 100 in this innings.
We're due a change at the end of this over, by the way.
Are we?
Yeah.
Oh, all change.
Right, I better
all change. End of this over.
I'll rattle through a couple. Byes don't result in another ball, whereas wides do. Do they need a different rule for wides in tests? That's our earlier conversation.
Possibly. Wood's going to come over the wicket now to Taylor. They've not moved the field in to prevent him from getting to his 80.
You think he's in the nervous 70s?
Yeah, the nervous 70s. This means the Devils' number is now 57, not 87. As that is back of the length, and Taylor defends, goes back normally to the bowler, and there'll be no run. Just one ball left of this over, and then we'll have our change.
I'll finish off YouTube. And looking forward to Mitchell batting today. He's more established in white ball cricket, but geez, he's a good batsman. Taylor only 8 runs away from 77,500 test runs. And then there's a conversation about the guy on right. Could be me. Looks like Rob Key. Really? Is that me? Oh, maybe they mean on the TV. I'm not sure. Do I look like Rob Key?
That's an existential question. Wood in for the last ball of this over, and that is played to wide third man by Taylor. He'll move to his 80s bat aloft, but now there will be a change in the commentary box.
Catch you later.
There will indeed.
Very
It's
good.
me, Hendo, and for the first time, I think this test, Chris. Morning, peeps. How are we all doing?
Good morning. Good morning, Chris. Good morning, Bear. Again. Oh, this is going terribly and badly wrong for England, isn't it?
It is indeed. We look like we've run out of ideas, and we don't have a spinner.
No, we have Dan Lawrence, and there was enough of that this morning, to be honest.
And Ruti, I suppose, as well. But
yeah, but I mean, he's not an attacking option, is he now? And,
No.
and what England need more than anything is wickets.
Which brings us back to team selection once more. And Moeen or Leach?
Difficult one. I think you've got to give Leach a go, haven't you? I mean, he's been. We talk about Chris Wokes being in the bubble for so long and really barely getting a game. And I know that Jack Leach was used a lot in the winter, but I think he's only played something like 11 Test matches in this country. He's got to be given more of an opportunity. It's difficult. People will say, well, he lengthens the tail as well. I mean, he's a solid tail ender and a decent player, but he's not going to generally get you lots of runs. He's going to hang around, as we saw at Headingley a couple of years ago. It's just really difficult. I mean, there's no variety in this attack, is there? Not just talking about the spinner, but there's no left armer. It's the same old. And to be honest, Anderson has looked a little bit, out of sorts. Really, he hasn't bowled particularly well this morning. Ross Taylor's been quite attacking, has taken him on a little bit.
Well, normally he gets something, doesn't he? I mean, the ball doesn't seem to be doing anything, to be fair.
It doesn't.
There's no swing, and there's not a lot of movement off the deck. It looks like a good batting pitch, and our 300 looks woefully short.
Well, it looks like there is movement, but the movement is coming off the pitch too slowly.
Yeah.
You get the impression that people like Taylor and Nichols have got the time to adjust. So if there isn't a lot of movement, but what is there is not having much effect.
Indeed. They're having drinks, by the way, which is why we're yapping away. Your thoughts, Chris?
Well, yeah, I think we're seeing in real time why New Zealand are in the World's Test final and England aren't really. It's this is a pretty strong England bowling attack. Broad and Anderson at home. They've been made to look pretty average compared to how New Zealand bowled, I think. And I don't say that lightly. And then furthermore, in New Zealand, even withstanding the weather, seem to be batting on a completely different pitch. And I think the Test averages that we mentioned earlier are very telling, and the paucity of England's batting lineup in comparison. This is the New Zealand team without Kane Richardson. Can you imagine England without
Williamson, you mean?
Kane Williamson.
Kane Williamson. Yeah, this is the New Zealand team without Williamson. Can you imagine the England team without Root?
Oh God.
This New Zealand team are perennially underrated, aren't they?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they are a very good team.
I guess they come under less pressure and less scrutiny, perhaps, in their own country than England will do. So there's the level of expectation, isn't there? But although they are, in a sense, setting up a level of expectation by doing so well at the moment.
Yeah, if they get hammered by India, it won't go down too well, I wouldn't think, having done so well against us. But I mean, this is a really weak England side, without Stokes, without Butler, without Wokes, I mean, the thing is that if you had Stokes and Wokes, for example, even if you didn't have Butler, it allows you to have Leach in the side. You've got so many more batting. I mean, if you had, for example, if you're in this side, you had Stokes, Curran and Wokes, the batting lineup immediately goes down to number 9.
Yeah, but then who do you leave out of where does Curran fit in? You know,
I'd leave out Stone and Woody, for example.
But we're looking at Stone and Woody as being the potential guys that will, provide us with the speed when we do go to Australia. Let's not get into this discussion about, the Ashes and whatever, but these are the guys that you've got to look to the future for. I mean, you've seen how Anderson and Broad are performing on a pretty easy batting wicket, and it doesn't make for good viewing. No, it doesn't.
Well, we have one of those guys who's coming in now. He's bowled his first ball. It's just played out to cover, and it's no run. It's this guy.
I wish my papa was a honest soul, and any granny comes to me to his own. I wish my papa's honest soul, then I'd have a claim, a fame of my own.
See, I thought Stone bowled quicker than this. I mean, he's not. I mean, yesterday he was averaging 86 miles an hour, same as Jimmy Anderson. Anyway, he's in now. He bowls to Ross Taylor, who just defends that up to mid-on, and there's no run. However, last time I saw him bowl, I thought he bowled quite well. So I've only seen him twice in Test matches. First time I thought he was all right. Second time, not so. So it's not much to go on.
Yeah, he bowled well in India. I mean, you'd expect him to come back to England and bowl better, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
It's a little bit worrying. I mean, I know he's had a lot of injury problems. It doesn't look particularly rhythmic in his run-up. Again, you look back to that moment and crucial moments in matches. That easy catch goes down. How much did that affect him as the day went on and there wasn't any success for him? You would hope that bowlers that are coming through would have more about them in a sort of mental and psychological sense than that. And we can only go on what we're seeing. I mean, we don't know really what's going on in his mind, but it may have just set him back a little bit. Sometimes these little moments can define careers, actually.
Well, they can do. I mean, he's in now, bowls. Oh, out, gone. There you go. Fucking take that. Ross Taylor has got 80. He's got himself out. He's driven up one outside the off stump. Didn't really do a lot. Played inside the line. And he's nicked off to the keeper. Woohoo! We got to finally get a wicket.
On your bike, mate.
And Bracey has managed to hold on to something finally, which is quite handy. He's very pumped.
He's absolutely elated.
England really needed that. But I mean, going back again, I mean, actually, if you look at that, you say Ollie Stone's upset. Will Young was dropped on, 6?
7. Yeah.
7. Conway was given not out on 20. And had those 2 wickets gone down at that point, they'd have been 60 for 3?
Yeah, I mean, you can look back at almost every game. You can look back at situations like that, can't you? I mean, interestingly, I'm not actually that surprised to see Taylor get out, because since he got to his 50, or certainly today, he's just seemed to want to play attacking shots the whole time. He's maybe thought to himself, he's not fiddling around out here, he might as well play some shots. And I think he's fallen. That's why he's fallen, really. I mean, he was aiming a drive at that one, it wasn't perhaps quite there. I don't think the ball did a great deal, but may just have given a boost to England. Let's hope so.
Well, indeed. Well, I mean, they're only about 9 runs behind us now, so...
yeah, it's going to take a lot. It's got to be a really big boost.
Yes. Look, there's a Chave. Get off.
She's coming in at 12:30, I believe. Let me get through some tweets. Muttley says, I was more a Tintin fan as a kid. I struggle, however, as an adult with blatant racism in the artwork. Peter Waters says, an example of the use of the Flintoff verb noun and Bradman verb noun. John Redwood is a Flintoffing Bradman. I think we'll go along with that. Muttley says, somebody's dog got hiccups. Woof. I think Bracey will make a ton in this game, says Moggs. Sadly, it'll be because of his buys. You can buy a cartoon drawing of John Redwood batting for £295.
What? Fuck off. No way. Left alone outside the off stump. There's no run. Someone burn it. That's more appropriate for it.
You would think so. That came in from Des. Thanks for that tweet. More tweets as we go through. First ball of the... Did you commentate that ball, Bear?
Was there a ball?
There was a ball.
Oh, okay. No, I didn't. It was just left alone, wasn't it? Through the keeper. There's no run.
Morg is talking about learning a bit of bad German so he could listen to KM, FDM and assorted New Deutsch Heart bands. I have no idea what that is all about.
Stone is in. He's getting a little bit of movement, but it's straight from the hand. And quite easy to watch. The new batsman, I'll give him a jingle now, is Blundell. He just left that alone once again through to the keeper. He has a jingle that sounds like this. Nice.
Up next is Tommy Blundell. Tommy Blundell. Up next is Tommy Blundell.
Oh! Fucking hell! Another edge. This one has gone down, diving to his left. Bracey hasn't got hold of that. He's knocked it wide of the slip, and Ollie Stone could have had 2 bloody wickets in that over. I mean, it was low, it was wide to his right. A decent keeper should have caught it. Oh, he's having a nightmare, Bracey. That's 3 catches England have dropped and 1 that's not been given, and you don't win Test matches like that. It should have been taken. It's hit his wrist, essentially. He's gone past it. You just got, you're in a Test match, you're an international wicket keeper, you've got to be catching those things.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Bear. But do you think that every one of our wicket keepers would have taken that? Not just.
Well,
Bracey.
When I said that, I did wonder that would Bairstow catch it?
Would have taken that. Do you think that that Butler would necessarily have taken that? You would hope that Folkes would have taken that, but I'm not sure about the others.
I think Butler might have taken it. I'm not sure about Bairstow. I mean, that was one of the points in this article. It's like, wasn't Bairstow our third stop keeper?
Yeah.
And why isn't he playing? And plus, if he'd have backed down at 7 or 3, I mean, he's that's a full toss. Very low down, shin high, and played by Nichols up to mid-on. There's no run.
Yeah,
well, I think it's a case of Blaine's Bracey rather than James Bracey at the moment, isn't it? His confidence must be absolutely shattered.
He had 2 tests to prove himself, didn't he? Because I mean, he got in because Folkes got injured. And obviously Butler's going to come back against India, and he was on a hiding to nothing, and it's turned into nothing really. It's just all gone to shit. Round the wicket, Wood into the pads of Nichols, who clips that nicely square on a leg side out to deep square leg, and there's a single. But England have got no one to blame here. If you're going to drop all these catches, that's what happens. The runs pile up. Catches win matches.
Yeah. Absolutely right. Let me get through some more tweets. Madan Mahan Sharma says, the way in which New Zealand batsmen are batting, I feel that Sibley will get another opportunity to show his potential for saving this match. Yeah, I suspect he's going to need to bat for more than an afternoon. That's my problem. If he saves this match by slow and steady batting, he will get a lot of praise. Well, yes, I agree with that. Christ the Choir is talking in German, as is Peter Ward. We've got a lot of more tweets about Asterisk. I'm going to sweep through those, and there's a discussion between Ravi Nair and Gary Naylor, which I know nothing about, and I will not bring you.
That one's beating the outside edge of Blundell, and it goes through to Bracey. Who holds on to that one? There's no run. Have you got YouTube up, Hendo?
I haven't, no.
I shall whip through some YouTube.
Yeah, I do. I've got too many things up on my screen to actually get that one as well.
We'll start Jeff Thomas. He says, I prefer teats, which of course he means tests. He does correct himself, but I thought I'd put it in there.
Could be.
Someone reckons that someone looks like Ed Sheeran. I don't know who that is. Looking dire, we are doomed, says Finlow Parish. Any chance the weather might save us? No. Tomorrow's going to be 27 and really, really nice, which makes a change in England. On the back foot, Blundell just knocks that up to mid-on, and there is no run.
Martin Lawrence says, I know Butler and Folkes aren't playing right now. Who'd be the third choice for England? Well, it would have to be Johnny Bairstow.
Oh, well, exactly.
And I don't think Johnny Bairstow is the kind of player who would turn down an offer to play a Test match. I mean, he's desperate to play Test, which I think is also true of Folkes, who hasn't played as many Tests as he might have done in the absence of other players. And so this is part of the weird situation we've got with selection and bubbles and various things like that.
Exactly, which allows you to bring in Leach, which means you have a proper spinner. Nicely driven by Blundell, but can't beat a wide mid-off, which is Jimmy Anderson. And they still get through for the single when he gets himself off the mark.
Well, Blundell's got a fair bit to prove here as well, hasn't he? I think he's only averaged around about 27 over the last 10 or so.
His test average is still 37, which is higher than virtually every England top order batsman.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. I mean, you feel that if New Zealand get scoreboard pressure from here by getting a lead of 120, 150 or so, you just wonder what England might do. They might just completely fold.
Well, yeah, our thoughts on that after this. Wood in, bowls, down the leg side. Nicholls just watches it go through to Bracey, and there's no run. Yeah, I mean, I think you've got to hang a lot on Burns and Sibley, actually, because, we talked a lot about this over many tests, but I do think they seem to be, India aside, they seem to be a pretty solid opening partnership. Certainly one of the more solid ones we've had since Cook has retired. And in the intervening years when we've tried, how many openers since Strauss? There was about 13 or 14 openers since Strauss had retired. And when Cook retired, it was like, who the fuck's going to open? But they, more often than not, one of them gets a score. The other one might not get too many, but they do seem to, work off a lot of the new ball a lot of the time, especially in conditions that they're used to. Stone is going to continue into his 17th over. Oh, wow, it's been left. No, I don't think it's going to be out. It darted back into Blundell and crashed into his pads, but I think it was well above the knee roll, and it might have gone too far down the leg side as well. Might be going over the top of leg stump, but I don't think it I think it's just too high. England aren't going to review it.
No, absolutely right. It was a good ball, give it that. Did jag back. Roger Melly says, have you guys changed your policy about on-air profanity? That's going to camp my fucking style a little bit. No, we haven't really.
No, not at all.
I mean, we've only ever really moved away from the C word. That's the only one. And Bradman is quite, makes a good...
Occasionally I've even let that slip out when I've been really upset. Left alone outside the off stump through the Bracey, and there is no run. No, certainly not. Some people don't like to swear. Me, personally, I do it all the time.
He does it all the time. He lives by the swear word and dies by the swear word. Most of us don't swear apart from when we get angry. Josie Oak says...
I fucking love swearing to him.
Give up and just commentate on the football at 2 o'clock. New Zealand will still be going tomorrow, says Josie Oak. Probably true.
Ollie Stone in onto the hit of Blundell, who clips it square. And there's a throw at the bowler's end as Nicholls had gone quite a way down the wicket. Blundell wasn't interested, no run.
How many catches did we put down today? The long leg catch. Who was it? Was that Bess who put that catch down?
No, it wasn't. It was Ollie Pope.
It was Ollie Pope?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness me!
And he got to the ball and didn't quite hang on to it.
Well, he's not. You don't often see Ollie Pope down at long leg, do you? I mean, you do wonder about a man who spent most of his day at short leg or in the covers, is then suddenly sent to long leg.
Indeed, Stone in. He's getting a little bit of swing himself. This is the thing. The ball is now probably 10 overs old, 11 overs old. Maybe it's starting to swing as Blundell aims a drive at that. Gets a thick inside edge that goes out to long leg. And he'll get himself a single.
Yeah, one difference I would say with Stone, I mean, he has got that little bit of extra pace, I suppose, not a great deal, but he does seem to be moving it a little bit later. Anderson and Broad were getting a little bit of movement, but it was very early in the delivery. I thought you mentioned it a couple of times, Bear, that it had gone from the hand really more than that later swing, that hoopy later swing that you want from the likes of Anderson and Broad.
I think this is a nice little spell so far from Stone. Like, he's getting the movement and he's beating the bat regularly. He looks a lot more threatening all of a sudden.
Yeah, he's going around the wicket to Nicholls, who has got faced 45 balls for 17. He's never a quick scorer. Left alone through the keeper and there's no run. I mean, you've got to say that New Zealand over the last couple of years, they've just tried to get big in the first innings. They're very patient. And rightly so, it's a 5-day game. If you can bat once, then you've got 3 days to get the opposition out twice.
Yeah, we do like to have a laugh about Burns and Sibley accumulating, but I think they've got the mindset that's needed on this pitch, as New Zealand are demonstrating.
Well, exactly. It's a long game. Left alone outside the off stump by Nicholls through to Bracey, and there's no run.
Ombro Nuevo has joined us. He says, afternoon, fantastic gorillas. Are we watching the epic rise and fall of England wicketkeeper in fast forward over 2 tests? I do feel for Bracey. We all feel for Bracey, but he just doesn't look up to it. And of course, you can't get away with things like that when your team's not doing well. If your team is doing all right, it goes less noticed. But when it feeds into a narrative of England really looking weak, and missing opportunities, it doesn't help your cause, does it? I mean, he's got to get some runs in the second innings, otherwise we may never see him again in Test cricket.
Well, no.
You know, we've seen bowlers who've had beginnings like this to their Test careers, and Simon Kerrigan is one of those.
Yeah, God.
And he's back in county cricket and doing quite well.
Okay, Ollie Pope is Ollie Pope. Sorry, it's Wood. it's not even Ollie Stone. It's Mark Wood starts his 17th over on a back foot. Blundell just plays it out to cover, and there is no run.
Tawit suggests that we should be Profanity FM. Well, we are.
We are at times, definitely.
We're Profanity AM, as in the morning if the Bear's on, to be honest.
Yeah, indeed.
Absolutely true.
Bearstone India was a disaster, of course. There's a message on our own chat. 0-0, 28 and 0. Yeah, but you compare that to everyone else in the side, and there's a lot of single-digit scores too. And he had scored well in Sri Lanka, and then they decided to send him home on a sabbatical because of fucking COVID, didn't they? And then he came back and couldn't bat for toffee. In comes Wood. Blundell gets right behind that, and that's a 90-mile-an-hour delivery, and it really just didn't look it. Defended on the back foot up to mid-off, and there ain't no run.
This is cruel, but also quite amusing from Warren. He says, can England bring in a bucket as a concussion replacement for Bracey? It will probably stop more byes, take more catches and score more runs.
Oh, that's harsh.
Oh, it's harsh. It's an unforgiving arena, is the sporting spotlight, isn't it? It really is. You know, you forget this is a human being to some extent. And poor old Bracey must be feeling gutted. I mean, he made that catch, didn't he, to get that first wicket for Ollie Stone, and then, you know, he was elated by that.
That one comes in a little bit to Blundell, but he gets right behind it, just knocks it out to the leg side, and there's no run, and now he looks quite comfy. He should have been caught. We have Steve Bruce on YouTube, and as Jeff Thomas rightly pointed out, Steve Bruce, good to see another underpicked England player in the chat.
Well, we did have Dean Smith at the ground yesterday, didn't we? The Aston Villa manager. He was there. He was pictured in the crowd. I suppose it's just up the road from him, Edgbaston. But yeah, it's always good to hear from a man who's managed more teams than I've had hot dinners.
And Steve Bruce just keeps shouting out Ed Sheeran on Twitter, on YouTube. Short over Blundell's head, he ducks, and it goes through the keeper, and there's no run.
Which one of us is Ed Sheeran, or did we have someone who was Ed Sheeran before he came on?
Chris must be Ed Sheeran. Come on.
I am mortally offended by that, believe me.
Well, it's not me, and it's not Hendo.
I'd be very surprised if anyone mistook me for Ed Sheeran.
Exactly, me too.
And the Bear. It's a fair point. The new County Cricket Matters is out. It's arrived today in the home of Tony Bishop 1. Annie Chave will be talking to Tony about that, presumably, when they come on and replace us at 12:30.
One of the worst nights of my life, break off.
Left alone outside the off stump by Blundell, and it goes through to the keeper, and there's no run. One ball left, and it's over. Let me get some more of these in. Steve Bruce comes back. Son for Don Bess. You're the best around. Ain't never going to let us down. He's the best around. I think we've probably got that.
It's not really true, is it, though?
No, we got simply the best. Yeah, I mean, I thought Bess's confidence might have been shot by the end of India. He's another one.
I think a lot of players came back from India with their confidence shot, and it's a hangover into this season. I really think that's true. I think it's true of Ollie Pope. I don't think he's quite the man that we saw a year and a half ago.
Wood in bowls and chopped down by Blundell outside half of the bat, but races through the slips down towards the third man boundary, and it gets there, and it will be 4 runs.
It's me, Sanshi. It's me, Sanshi.
It's not the first or the last England team that will be chastened in India. But you'd like to think they could bounce back from it psychologically, wouldn't you, with all the support they've got these days with psychologists and counsellors and so forth?
Yeah, but I mean, you know, you came back and you look at that middle order and you think there's talent there, but the talent is just not coming through, is it? I mean, apart from Dan Lawrence got his 81 and batted pretty well, but he looked quite dodgy early on. But you look at Crawley, he's a man who's got 267 in a test match. You look at Ollie Pope, who's got 100, and has actually, in one of those games in New Zealand, he really shepherded the tail very well as well, showing a lot of responsibility. You got Dan Lawrence, who's obviously a little bit unorthodox, but really can play.
Stone is around the wicket to Nichols, who just works that into the leg side. There'll be a single, they think about 2, but it's not there. Whoever that is running in from the square leg boundary fields it, and that brings up the New Zealand 300. They trail by just 3 runs, and they got 6 wickets in hand. This is trouble. We have a question from Stephen Kirk. It says, off topic, as someone following for the Netherlands, can I shamelessly ask GC's opinion of the recent and glorious ODI series victory for the Netherlands versus Ireland?
Well, I was surprised by it, I must admit. I thought Ireland would win that. The Netherlands went to Nepal and didn't have a particularly good time there in that T20 competition, or break-off.
Stone is in full, and that's a good ball, angling it off stump. Well defended by Blundell, back down the track, and ain't no run.
And of course, first game was very, very tight indeed. Ireland won the second game quite easily. I fully expected Ireland to go on and win that tournament, and they didn't. Which is, it's good and bad news. One wants to see Ireland being strong, but you also want the Netherlands, who, have got quite a good history, haven't they? A recent history going back, to various T20 competitions and whatever.
That's into the hip of Blundell. I don't think he gets any bat on it, but it just meanders out on the leg side square, and they'll scoot through for a leg bye.
I guess you could say, well, it was in the end it was a close-ish series, and so that's good for both teams.
Good for cricket.
Good for cricket. Is it good for cricket? Yes, it is. Obviously, it's good for cricket. But you want to see one of these. I mean, Ireland now are a full member, Netherlands still to become one. But yeah, I mean, I don't see the Netherlands doing well. They bring colour, literally, to cricket, don't they? When they play in the white ball format.
Stone around the wicket, down the hit. Maybe it caught a bit of thigh pad on the way through. It seems to deviate a little bit, but Nicholls got his bat nowhere near it. No one's appealing, and it's taken by Bracey, and there's no run. Greg Wilson says, you mentioned Simon Kerrigan. Good to see he's back. I remember Mason Crane as well. He's played
well. Mason Crane's still going and doing all right, I think. Yeah, I mean, God, it's a long way. It's a long way back, isn't it? What Ashes was it that Mason Crane made his debut? I've forgotten now. Was it 2017-18?
Something like that, wasn't it? Didn't we?
It's about 4 years ago.
It was in Australia, wasn't it? In the last Ashes.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Pulled by Nicholls nicely, but straight to deep square leg, and only been a single. Mitch Ryan says he reckons that Chris looks like Rhys Darby rather than Ed Sheeran.
I don't know who Rhys
Robin
Darby
Williams,
is.
Ed Sheeran, Rhys Darby, whoever he is.
I don't know who Rhys Darby. I was hoping someone would tell me who Rhys Darby
was.
was.
No, I have no idea who Rhys Darby is.
Okay.
On Twitter, Des says you have to feel for Bracey. At least poor Kerrigan could hide in the field in 2013. Well, it was a well-attended match, wasn't it? It was at the Oval, as I remember. Neil Dodonsky says, I hate to be namist, but it's obvious. England's problem: too many ollies, not enough bends.
Well, possibly. Well, I mean, the first test against India, as that one is bowled by Stone, last ball of the over, it's full, it's straight, it's defended by Blundell, back to the bowler, and there's no run. I mean, the first test against India will certainly have Stokes. Certainly, I mean, presuming his hand is fixed by then, but it looks like it's good. Butler will be back. There's a good chance that Wokes will be in it. So there's 3 players. Will Zach Crawley be out?
I think Zach Crawley would be out. I mean, there's no real proper cricket for him to play between now and India. I heard Nasser and 1 or 2 others talking yesterday. Well, he can go and free his arms in a bit of T20 or whatever. Maybe some Royal London one-day cup stuff as well. But it's not the same, is it? It's not the same. You don't have slips. You don't have to worry about slips as much.
No.
You don't have to worry so much about the moving ball because the white ball tends to move early for a few overs and then nothing more. It's a really tricky situation for England's players to get cricket again and get any confidence back. This is why they were saying, they're playing, or they're trying to learn their craft in Test matches.
As Wood bowls outside Nicholls is off stump, he just leaves it through the brace and there's no run. True.
Roger Melly says, if you want to avoid the C word on air, you can consult my Profanisaurus for alternatives. Here's one example. Tracy Island is to do with a bowel movement. I won't go into any more than that. Messi Jez reminds us that we can buy the wonderful Annie Chave edited County Cricket Matters in hard copy for £2.50 in the e-version shortly on Amazon. So she'll be talking about that, I'm sure, once she gets on air very shortly.
Apparently Rhys Darby is the Flight of Concords manager. Clips round the corner by Nicholls to deep square leg as Wood comes around the wicket to him, and he'll get himself another single.
Lawrence Jameson says, so England have gone from playing two keepers to playing none. At least Folks has cemented his position after this series. I tend to disagree. I don't think we'll ever see Ben Foakes in a game in England, all because he fell over on a slippery surface. Mog says, are we certain the T20 World Cup will happen this year, or will the BCCI manoeuvre their way into getting it cancelled from some bullshitty IPL catch-up bullshittery?
Well, they're going to try and get both in, aren't they? They're going to try and get the IPL in.
Squeeze the IPL in before the World T20, which may both be held in the UAE.
Exactly. Full, straight, clipped up to mid-on. Don't think they went for the single. They did not indeed.
Mog also asks, has England used more guys trying to find an opening partnership than Australia tried spinners post-Warne? Probably. One says Ed Sheeran. I don't know who he's referring to. He says more like Eddie Yates. Eddie Yates, the magnificent. He's the magnificent dustman from Corrie from years back.
Really? Never heard of him.
I vaguely remember him. And we seem to be up to date on tweets, which is really good. Whenever whoever comes in next to, I think.
Oh God! Whilst I remember, because we're supposed to be changing at the end of this over. GPL. Woody in bowls, very full again, and he's fallen over. When he's taken it whilst rolling back, that's pretty good going, Woody. He bowled out 91 miles an hour though. The GPL is open. The pot is 39 quid, and we've had quite a few entries today. There's 19 entries. Mark Selleck's going for the big. The problem, Mark, is that if you win, I can never pay you, so that's fine, I suppose, for us, but not for you. He's loaded up his stocks from 292 all the way up to 325, basically missing every 3 runs. So it's 294. 2 or 4 runs. He's done a big cover. Woody is in, bowls outside the off stump, but this time it's too wide and a nice height. Blundell can just guide that past gully all the way down to the third man boundary for 4 runs.
The number of the day. Who could ask for more? The number of the day is 4.
And after this ball, next one coming up, it will be the first appearance this summer for quite a while for Miss Annie Chave.
No, well, she was here yesterday, Bear. Pay attention.
Oh, I wasn't on yesterday, was I? So. All right, it won't be. It'll be her second appearance.
I mean, the first appearance that you've made with Annie this.
Well, I'm not making an appearance all day with her, I don't think.
Are you not? Oh.
You didn't put me on the rotor with her.
Trouble is, everybody wants to be on with Annie, and
but I'm the boss,
man.
I get to do what I like.
But you don't, because you don't do the rotors. I do.
Woody in last ball, and that's clipped into mid wicket by Blundell. It is no run. That is the end of my spell. We will be having a change. Tony will be on with Annie, and who else is joining you, Tony?
Forthy's coming back.
Forthy's coming back. I will see you later.
All right, I shall go. Just to say that on the tweets, the next one is
Thank you very much indeed. And I should be on with Annie and Forthy. Bear's waving. Are you there, Annie?
I'm here. I am here.
Fantastic. And Forthy, I can see you, and you are there as well. You are both there. Fantastic.
I can't see Forthy.
You can't see him?
Oh, I
there
can
in
now. I can
magnificent corporeal form. I can see him in front of his bookshelf. 307 for 4.
Hello, Annie. I think I was on with you last day in India, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, well, yeah. I can't remember now. It feels like a lifetime ago.
What about that drop, eh? Well, we'll talk about that in a minute, because for the moment, Ollie Stone, who was again the victim of a drop catch by Bracey this time, is bowling to Henry Nicholls, and it's left alone outside of Nicholls' off stump. And through it goes to Bracey. Poor old Bracey, Annie.
Oh dear.
It seemed very catchable. Diving to his right might have made it to first slip, but having committed, you really, really need to take those, don't you? And it just popped out.
Absolutely. Oh, he's having a nightmare, poor lad. I feel so sorry for him.
Would you want to give him a big hug? Yeah. I can understand that. We're watching, I think that's Colin de Grandmallet, who is wandering around the ground with pads under his arms, as that is worked nicely off his hips by Nicholls to square leg. They will take a single. It'll bring Tom Blundell from Wellington. Not the other way around. Tom Blundell from Wellington on to strike. 30 years old is Tom. Only really played for Wellington, I think. He's a one state.
I've been having
a
good look at where all the New Zealanders have played, and I think I have a little theory up my sleeve. 3
slips are in place for Ollie Stone, who delivers this one to the right-handed Blundell. good length ball on off stump, tidily defended, 308 for 4. Now, I tell you what's been also intriguing me is 4 players have got into the 80s in this game. Burns, Conway, Young, Taylor, none have gone on to make 100. There's been 79 centuries scored at Edgbaston, none by a New Zealander. And 4 players at the 80s but not going on it's probably quite unusual, as this one is steered by Blundell to mid-off, where Jimmy Anderson does the fielding.
Remember players like Graham Thorpe Graham Thorpe in particular used to get criticised for saying he keeps getting to 80 and then getting out. I think we'd probably settle for that right now.
But it's unusual, you're right. I mean, if you can get to 80, normally you're set, and then of course there's the nervous 90s, and of course, wickets in the 90s tend to make news because of the frustration for the batsman. But for 4 batsmen to go to 80 and none to convert, is possibly slightly surprising. That was really why I was remarking on it. A Stone is in, that's full, and swings into Blundell, who gets the bat down on it comfortably enough, pushes to mid-on, and again there is no run. We're looking at I think they're just dressed as cricketers, really, generic cricketers in I assume the Hollies stand there.
Yeah, they just look old-fashioned because of the beards, but of course that's such a trendy thing now.
Yeah, but they're real beards. It's not like they've got false ones on.
No, they're real beards, like yours, Tony, in fact.
Yeah, well, mine's a lot shorter now. As this one is driven beautifully away. It's a gorgeous off drive by Nichols. It will get him 4 more, and that should also extend New Zealand's lead tonight.
It's me, says she.
Just 2 full from Ollie Stone, and it was effortlessly, really, just guided stylishly. Lovely straight off drive, and it will get 4, as we said, 4 runs, going very nicely. New Zealand well in credit now. That 5th wicket, if England could have taken it, you look at the drops yesterday. I mean, well, it was only 1 drop, wasn't it? It was poor old Joe Root, Ollie Stone again missing out. Then the chance that should have been taken, that Conway went on to score, well, that was taken by Crawley. I could watch that 40. Well, I don't know what you thought. Oh, you could watch that 20 times and still think it was a catch, wouldn't you?
Yeah, it was a catch. Even on review, I thought, well, that's a catch. It's one of the clearest ones, actually. That was what was disappointing about it. Even granted, the soft signal was not out.
Well, that's the thing, and the umpire saying it was clearly grounded.
Wood.
I don't know what he was looking
He's
at.
in, short, pulled. And not really got hold of at all by Nichols. And in fact, I think there seems to be some conversation between Wood and the umpire. Did he actually deliver that ball? Yes, he did.
I think it hit his...
I think he might have... I think
it hit him in the head, Tone.
Yeah, I think they're having to have a...
Oh, Lord, it did. It caught him on the side of that helmet.
Yikes. Yeah.
And
should I do 1 or 2 tweets?
Oh, I think you should. Well, we keep our eyes on that.
Yeah, Warren, Hot Mick is Flintoft. Nestlers, headline of the day: humpback whale swallows and spits out diver.
Oh, I saw that.
Cape Cod fisherman estimates he was in the beast's mouth for 30 seconds. Experts say the encounter was a fluke. So that's good. That's marine news. Martin Lawrence, hello everyone. I've got a question for you. Are England doomed? Well,
Good one, Martin.
most likely.
We're always doomed.
Always and forever. Roger Melly, wicket keeper, is the cricket equivalent of the scrum half in rugby. Busiest position on the pitch, and when you fuck up, there's nowhere to hide. I've discovered you can say the F word. So Roger, we're back in business on the F word. I wasn't sure about that. And Leah,
say what you like.
Apparently, yes.
No, we do. Yes. We do have certain things we avoid
beyond the pale. Yes. Yeah. And finally, when we're up to date on the tweets, I'll go to YouTube after that. Leah, that can't come from a World War II comic, as Unter Gruppenführer was essay rank and was published in 1930. So some good military history from Leah.
Yeah, she knows her stuff. Does Leah? No doubt about that. We're looking at close up of a man, probably with a fair amount on his mind at the moment, trying to keep it clear. James Bracey, as if 2 ducks won a golden duck wasn't playing on his mind enough. Dropping a really important catch is not going to improve his mood or confidence in himself, but he just has to battle his way through it. It sounds harsh, but there's no other way, is there?
Yeah, I just don't think the ducks helped his confidence whatsoever. And he's looking.
Wood is going to continue around the wicket too, the left-handed Nichols, who looks, and there's a shout and given. He's been strangled down the leg side. And would you believe it? Wood has a wicket. Bracey has a catch just as we're talking about it. It's a leg side strangle. England have a wicket, and it's Henry Nichols. Just took enough glove, didn't it? I reckon there, Annie.
Yeah. Clearly. I was just thinking, poor man. He's just had a break, and immediately the ball after. He's obviously.
Well, dare one say it? Is that a hint of, softening up? It is a legitimate tactic if you're a quick bowler, and you can certainly bowl as fast as Mark Wood can. The technique of a couple to soften the batsman up. Quite often, though, they're followed by the fuller delivery, aren't they? That one short, and then it's the old 1, 2, 3, left hook, right hook, and then the one that knocks you down. It's the same idea with fast bowling, isn't it? Couple short, and then bung one in full. But he didn't. He got him with another fairly short one. Sorry,
Mike Selvey once said that Mike Proctor taught him if there was one ball of the day left, then bowl 2 no balls in a row, which was short and right at the neck, as clear no balls, and then bowl a very full, legitimate final delivery, which really is gamesmanship.
Well, yeah, kind of interesting. Now, who do we have coming to the crease? 312 for 5. England will need another couple of quick wickets. England will be cock-a-hoop. It's Darryl Mitchell, who was likened desperately unfairly to an Eastern European gangster by somebody yesterday. I can't remember who it was. Was it the Bear who was making that comparison? No, it doesn't sound like something the Bear would say, but someone was.
It's like he's got pointy ears in that picture. A bit like a Vulcan.
So he's a cross between an Eastern European gangster and an elf, apparently.
No, I was thinking more Spock-like, actually.
More Vulcan than elf.
Yeah.
A bit of Vulcan in him. Let's jingle him up.
Son of an old black funny on Peep Show wrote that book. Oh, Darryl, not David Mitchell.
He slips go down and he plays this very tidily, works it off his hip down to long leg. They take a single, they won't go back for 2. It's a leg bye. Signalled as a leg bye, so he's not off the mark. Mark Wood, having just taken a wicket down the leg side, which we're having a look at. Henry Nichols was just looking to steer it round the corner, but it was a bit of a nothing shot, really, Annie, wasn't it?
It really was. And he shows it in his face, doesn't he?
It was neither one thing or the other, and that can often get you in trouble, whether you're playing a cricket shot or taking a penalty. You really need to commit to something, don't you?
Yeah, this is
in comes Wood again, over the wicket to the right-handed Blundell, who pulls to mid-wicket, where it is fielded 92 miles an hour from Mark Wood, who is clearly fired up and taken that wicket. I noticed Joe Root's double fist pump, because playing on his mind, amongst the many duties and concerns of being a captain, is the fact that you never know, but New Zealand might have been all out had that all-important wicket been taken at the time when that catch was offered. But you can't rewrite history.
And they must be wondering about the spinner option too.
Indeed, I think that's we'll come on to that perhaps as Wood gallops in, Blundell meets it squarely and steers it into the offside, and again there is no run. 1 for 60 for Mark Wood. That one a mere 88 miles an hour, but still sharp enough. This morning we have seen Taylor depart, caught behind by off stone by Bracey. Nichols caught again by Bracey, and we have Blundell and Mitchell at striker. Neil Wagner going through his limbering up routine. He's going up through that limbering up routine with the intent of a man who expects to be at the crease fairly sharp order as Blundell tries to pull this, and it just drops down at his feet. Back up to 90 miles an hour. It's the end of that wood over. 313.45 are New Zealand, and 40 will come to you for some more social media messages.
Yeah, we're not far off from being up to date, but we've had some comparisons with us all this morning, and we've got David Mitchell is genius, and that may be referring to me because I've had the David Mitchell comparison in the past. I'm fine with that. And we've had...
You do sound like it.
It is true. Another one from Josie Oak. I see bookcases, I think referring to us, but the books are not as OCD arranged as Harsha Bogle's were yesterday. And he's tweeted a lovely image of Harsha's bookcase. They are immaculately coordinated. They ripple like a gradually undulating sea.
Oh, I'm so not OCD like that. I just chuck up my books in my bookshelf, so and it looks like yours are a little bit.
It's going to be Stone.
Well,
Stone's going to be in from the pavilion end, and Mitchell just pushes the ball to mid-off.
Yes, my wife complains I put them in alphabetical order, but how else would you put them apart from alphabetical order?
Well, I don't have mine in alphabetical order.
How do you find one when you're looking for one?
That's a good question. It takes me bloody ages.
I have to say, I don't do that. I'm rather suspicious of a well-ordered bookcase.
Oh, really? Oh, dear.
Well, on the grounds that it suggests that you don't read the books that much. It's just there for show. That may not be true, as up onto his toes goes Mitchell.
Yeah.
Pushes this away to mid-wicket. They take a quick single.
It's like polished shoes, isn't it? Just there for show, isn't it, really?
That's an interesting... I was momentarily lost for words at where that comparison actually was going. A well-ordered bookcase is like a pair of polished shoes.
Yeah, I think
Possibly
so.
if you've only got 2 books in your bookcase, I don't know.
Yeah, what are you polishing them for, really?
I've got a friend who's an interior designer and an architect sort of fellow, and we went to his house and he had immaculate leather.
Hold that thought, because this sounds a fabulous story, but we'll wait for Stone, who's in, and it's wide and it's cut. Oh dear, Blundell short and wide, and Tom Blundell was not going to miss out on cutting that to point or 4.
And we said...
You were telling us about your architect friend and his
Yes, and we said, to be honest, we thought you were a little bit of a Philistine. And he said, no, I like to have books around me. And so we opened one of the books, and it was in Dutch. It was purely there for show.
Purely for show, yeah.
Well, if you'd have been really smart, you'd have said, of course, I read
the point of that? It's like...
Yes, you would have done, yeah.
318.
Like clean cars. Why do you need your car clean?
Well, inside.
It's only going to get dirty again.
Yeah,
now,
exactly.
This is interesting. What is happening? I think the ball had bounced into the crowd, so it's time for the wet wipes to be applied. Somebody said yesterday it looked like, who was it? Someone was opening a packet of condoms when they were describing this here. So you can certainly put plenty of sweat on it, but once it's gone into the crowd, the umpire has to whistle out the wet wipe, which I'm not sure can do the ball a lot of good.
Yeah.
But I mean, I understand the reason absolutely for doing it. Ollie Stone's going to be in. 3 slips go down. Blundell plays him off the back foot, steers to mid-wicket. They're going to have to hurry as the throw comes in, and he makes it safely enough. So Mitchell will be back on strike. Tom Blundell will move on to 19. Got a bit of a late order caller, didn't he? BJ Watling was out. I did notice all the injured players were heading off to the nets again. Injured in inverted commas. The injured inverted commas New Zealand players, including Captain Kane Williamson, were heading off for a good old net. But there you go. They are in that.
They are the A team.
They're in that world final, and good luck to them. And I think it's fantastic for New Zealand cricket, and they have got some side here. As this one is short, and Mitchell, I think, for a split second, thought he might try and pull that, and quickly realised that would be a bad thing to do, and through to Bracey it goes. Ooh, he got some lift in that. He really put his back into that in Ollie Stone, and got the lift appropriately. 1 for 72 for him, but he will be reflecting it could so easily be 3, and once you've got 3, who knows? You can't, as I say, you can't rewrite history, but you can count 2 he definitely should have had. That one is short again, and Mitchell is happy to duck underneath it. I think this is Annie, a good old-fashioned working over as we come to the end of the over.
Yeah, I was just thinking about the superpowers he might have as a Vulcan, actually.
Oh,
Does he have superpowers?
Well, he's got that ability to squeeze someone's shoulder and they immediately pass out.
Yeah, mind meld as well.
Oh, mind melding. Anyway, 40.
That's true.
What have you got for us?
I've just got a little something from Warren, who says, Fluke, the fisherman, said the incident had given him new porpoise.
Oh, God.
And Leah has sent us 4 images of her military history bookcases. So that's combining 2 recent topics in one. And
Are they
says,
ordered?
They look... Well, yes, I would say they most certainly are. And she says, after all, this is my idea of a hobby. You better believe I know my military history.
Well, in comes Mark Wood. And it's worked nicely away by square leg by Tom Blundell. We should just get a single there, I would imagine. Very, very well played indeed.
I just want to go to my little theory here. I was looking at, as I was saying earlier, I was looking at all the New Zealand players and where they've played. And there are only about 3 that haven't played county cricket in England. And I think that must be an advantage to New Zealand, mustn't it?
I think it is, and Will Young, of course, who did so well yesterday, has been doing very well for Durham. In comes Mark Wood again. This one is full and pushed into the onside by Mitchell. Just before that, that was a very well made point by Annie. But whilst we were listening to that, we were watching 2 popes with each with their own personal beer snake that they were carrying, presumably again across the Holly stand. Which, being a Saturday, it was in full swing from day one, wasn't it? The Holly stand, but
well,
Saturday is traditionally the day they would go crazy.
That's what it's all about for some.
Mark Wood. Sorry, go on.
And I was going to say, Colin de Grandon, of course, played for Warwickshire as well, so that's a bit of a
he did indeed. In comes Wood over the wicket. Forward comes Mitchell. There's no run. 320 for 5. New Zealand have extended that lead now to 17, having started the day on 229 for 3. So they've lost 2 wickets. They've moved to 320. And most importantly of all, they have overtaken England. So every run now is extending a first innings lead for them, with a view to setting England a target in that second innings. 320 for 5. Wood drops this one short. Mitchell happy to duck underneath it. This definitely, Forthy, seems a plan, doesn't it? As soon as they see Mitchell, it's drop it short.
It does. Yeah, that's okay. There's a plan. Do it for 3 or 4 overs and see what happens. Yeah, kind of go along with it.
Just a reminder, by the way, the GPL closes in 6 minutes. Did I see there was 51 quid in the pot there? There's 51 pounds in the pot. If you haven't entered, go to guerrillacricket.com/competitions. You'll find everything there. It's £1 a go. All you have to do is guess the number of runs to be scored in the day. And if you get it on the nose, you win. As forward comes Mitchell to this delivery, and it's away into the offside. No run. We've had wins as big as, Bear will tell me, I think nearly £200. We've had a win recently of £77. More the money that goes in the pot, the more chance you have of winning.
Life-changing, in fact, some of these amounts, haven't they? Yeah.
Yes,
incredible.
Yes indeed. 324 5. 17 the lead.
What's your
Wood.
prediction on what New Zealand are going to get? I reckon they're going to all be out for 381.
I think they're going to get past 400, I have to be honest. This one swung down leg, and Bracey is lively. Wood is, I'm not sure, well, it was a sort of a slightly injudicious flick at that by Nicol.
Shall I do some
Mitchell, sorry, I beg your pardon. We're just going to have another look at that. Yeah, he so nearly just got something on that. But yeah, it's the end of the over, so thank you, Forthy, please do.
Yes, Mog. I have a very large number of books and no method of sorting them, but I can rely on the mystical art of memory to find any given grimoire. And that word again was grimoire. Grimoire. Grubby has tweeted in with something really quite grubby. I'll just pick up. We'll pick up.
Well, I'll just let you know in the meantime there's a change of bowling and it's going to be Captain Joe Root
Just before lunch.
back into the attack.
Again.
Is this one we need to think about editing? Wouldn't probably not normally. Although he did get us banned from Twitter once.
So there's that. Introduce yourself.
Joe Root.
Introduce yourself.
Joe Root.
Introduce yourself.
Joe Root, actually.
320 for 5. Root.
I've got
66 on his back.
I've got a stat on Joe Root, which is quite exciting.
Can you squeeze that in before he bowls?
Yeah, he's got the 4th best bowling analysis of any English captain.
Well, that's pretty good to know. In he comes, gives that a bit of flight, and
who's ahead of him then? Both of
them. The other side.
Well, funnily enough, not both of them. I expected it to be. Bob Willis. He got a 6 for. Allen. Grubby Allen, was it?
In comes Root again. Forward comes Blunder. Oh, you don't mean overall bowling figures? You mean in a match? Because I know Root got that
in a match.
5 for 8, wasn't it? 5 for 8.
He got 5 for 8.
Yeah.
He got 5 for 8 in February, and that's the 4th best bowling analysis by any English captain.
Oh, then I'd definitely like to know the rest of them.
Yeah.
Squeeze them in after this.
Strauss or Vaughan.
No, very highly unlikely as this one is pushed to short square leg.
Well,
give us one at a time then. So you had Bob Willis, fantastic.
That's Bob Willis got one. Here he comes again. He bowls so quickly, doesn't he?
Oh, he does. So we wait for Rooty, and this one is pulled away. It was short, but there is a man down on that mid-wicket boundary, and actually it will just be a single. So it'll take Blundell on to 21. Mitchell is on 1 not out. That Gent or Gent clock is ticking around towards 1 o'clock. Well, how would is it? Do you think it's Gent or Gent?
Gent.
It is Gent.
I think it is.
There's a name of clockmaker. Obviously, we saw that lovely picture of you with a grandfather clock, Annie.
I'm gonna intervene here. 40. Both of them had 8 for 34 in a Test match. How come he's not above?
Yeah, that's what I thought. As this one is.
Yes. Okay. Sorry. When he was captain.
Away to the off stump. Ah, there's your answer, Ben.
As captain is the answer. He has to be captain when he gets the analysis. So there you are.
Very good. Very good.
How many bowling captains were there?
Not many. That's
on to the back foot goes Mitchell to steer this away to off. It's the end of that route over. He's obviously brought himself on to try and buy a bit of time and get an extra over in. And it means we can go and get some more of your messages, whether it's on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter. 40, what you got?
Warren, maybe more New Zealand Test players in county cricket than England Test players. And then India says it's confirmed for the UAE.
IPL, that must be, I presume, or is that the World Cup?
I guess. Not sure, actually.
Might be the World Cup he's talking about, because UAE, the IPL was confirmed a while back.
Yeah.
I think that brings us up to date, so I'll just finish off. Willis, 6 for 101 in 1982, third. Second, Gilligan, 6 for 7 in 1924. Ooh. And first, Allen, 7 for 80 in 1936. So
is that Gubby Allen?
1936, that would be, I think, Gubby Allen.
That would be Gubby Allen, wouldn't it? 321 for 5. Mark Wood is going to bowl what we think is probably the last over before lunch. And he barrels in with 2 slips in place, and it's very nicely played by Blundell out to mid-wicket. They are going to run back and take 2. Good, sharp running, good intent from New Zealand. Stretching that lead now to 20 as they move on to 323 for 5. Mitchell just the 1, but he's faced 12 balls. And Tom Blundell, Wellingtonian Tom Blundell, as 23. Why is that amusing to you, Annie?
I don't know. You keep bringing it up, but as if it's a surprise. He's from Wellington.
Well, it isn't a surprise to me at all. Windy Wellington. He's from Windy Wellington.
We've got a Wellington near us.
Have you? Is that in near Exeter?
Well, it's in Somerset, and it's got a Wellington monument.
Nothing to do with the Duke? I suppose everything's probably slightly to do with the Duke, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just a big pin, basically. A needle that goes up in the air. I don't know.
Okay. As Mark Wood's going to be in again over the wicket to Blundell, who plays that very straight and correctly. And there's no run. 90 miles an hour again.
Yeah,
Joe Root wearing two. Yeah, no, he is. He's getting that pace up. Joe Root, we're looking at close up of him with the 2 sunglasses, 2 caps. He's obviously taking care of Mark Wood's headgear and eyewear.
So, Fourthy, what do you reckon they're going to score? What do you reckon they're going to score?
I go for 414.
Okay.
440.
414. 1-4.
Oh, 1-4. Okay.
Yep.
323 they're on at the moment. 5 wickets down. 20 the lead as Wood comes in wide of the off stump, and perhaps with one eye on lunchtime, Blundell decides to leave that one safely alone. And it goes through to the slightly beleaguered Bracey, although to be fair, he's managed a couple of catches, but did let one go as well. We're looking at a very tropical
group. I think he'll be feeling
group.
better, a little bit better about himself, having got that catch.
Oh, what does it say? Oh, it says Root. It's 4 chaps in kind of what sort of Hawaiian shirts and garlands around their necks. Those multicoloured umbrella hats. And they're all sat in a row, and as they bend their heads forward, on the top of the umbrellas are the letters R, O and T, which is rather clever. In comes Wood. Pulled this time. Blundell wasn't going to miss out on that, but there's a man down there at fine long leg. It's Ollie Stone. Again, it will be a good shot, but just for 2. Sorry, just for 1. In fact, Blundell on 24, so Mitchell will be back on to strike. 2 balls left. If I look at the time, we're already ticked past 1 o'clock on the Gent, or Ghent, we think Gent, according to Annie.
No, I'm just guessing. I know it probably is Ghent.
It could be. If anyone from Edgbaston is listening, tell us. I'm actually fascinated. As Wood is going to be in, and forward comes Mitchell, pushed into the onside. No run, so he'll have, barring no balls or wides, just 1 more delivery to navigate to see New Zealand to lunch with 5 wickets down. 324 for 521. They lead.
Ram Theft Arto says I'm a bookcase anarchist. Whereas
I like that.
Yes, I just don't get it.
A lot of my books are on the floor.
Yeah.
What?
No.
I think a bookcase. I mean, I like a degree of order in my life, but a bookcase needs to look well rummaged through. I think is a good look for a bookcase. As this one is guided down to 3rd man. Actually, I won't go all the way. It has Dom Sibley galloping after it, well, not in the most elegant manner. Sibley, he's not what you call.
He doesn't do anything.
He doesn't. He's not what you call a sort of. He doesn't run with a sense of elan, does he? He's a little bit. A little bit clumsy somehow in his trotting, but nonetheless, it's the end of that session. 25.3 overs, 97 runs scored, 2 wickets taken, an over rate of 12.2, and a run rate of close to 4. So I think, Annie, you would probably say New Zealand's morning.
Yeah, we definitely need to get some more wickets, don't we? It's been a bit relentless, I would say, and the fielding hasn't helped.
No, it hasn't. I will take you quickly through a very quick summary of the scorecard, and then we can catch up on your final messages before we go into some lunchtime entertainment. So New Zealand.
Dancing girls, is it?
Well, I don't know what the Bears got lined up. It's unlikely to be dancing girls.
I hope
they
it's bear
they tend not to look that great on wireless. But nonetheless, what did we start on this morning? 229 for 3. And this morning, New Zealand have lost Ross Taylor, the 3rd New Zealander to go to 80, but he went caught behind off the bowling of Ollie Stone. Henry Nicholls went caught behind off the bowling of Wood. Tom Blundell, the not-out batsman, on 24. Daryl Mitchell, his partner, on 3. No wickets yet for record-breaking Jimmy Anderson. 2 for 40 for Stuart Broad, 1 for 66 for Wood, 1 for 72 for Stone, who really will be smarting and thinking he should have had more.
Yeah, definitely.
None for 40 for Root, and no wickets this morning for Dan Lawrence, but of course he did crucially get the wicket of Will Young last night. Forthy, what have you got in terms of some final messages?
Final messages. Farong, well, was expecting a bit more from the second new ball. We shall see what eventuates in the middle session. Our own Messi, how can Root bring himself on before Lawrence? Very good question. Farong, if only they had PayPal in Bangladesh. And who wears the captain's cap? Mog, who's on prolific form this morning. Frozen Hell is one of my favourite books about Russian military prowess. And a little comment about Leah's bookshelf, excellent Renegade Legion boxes. Those who are interested in Soviet history might want to get engaged with some of the exchanges taking place there. A couple more cricket ones. Mog. Well, if the T20 World Cup is on, I'll send in all the Dutch, Namibian, PNG, Omani, Scottish et al. Jingles I did 2 years ago. And Warren, Sibley is the steptoe and son nag to Wood's Seabiscuit.
That's a good ending, I think.
Yeah, a few people on YouTube as well reminding us that Rhys Darby, who I heard was indeed the Flight of the Conchords manager. He's very funny as a comedian, actually. Murray Hewitt was the character he played there. Lots of people on Facebook, and I just want to say hello to all of you, but no time to read it out before lunch. Bear, what have you got for our lunchtime delight?
Your bloody interview.
Which one? I've done so many. Can you be more specific?
The one you've been hassling me about for the last week.
Well, you're good to give me a chance to introduce it then. This is my interview with Michel Lang, who has written a book, beautiful little book, called how's that? My first cricket book. It costs less than £5, and it is a wonderful little introduction to anyone whose child plays cricket, who wants to get their child into cricket, or who watches their child plays cricket and just wondered if they wanted to have the very basics of what the game they're watching is about. It's a beautiful little work of art. We will tweet all about it, so you can watch our Twitter feed and you can find out where to buy it. But you can buy it from us, and it's Michelle and her family who have put it together. It has a lovely little story behind it, and she is about to tell me about it in the interview you're about to hear.
Hey.
It's a pleasure to have in the house Devon Malcolm. I mean, normally you'd have to be in...
Chairman Mao, Jamie Howe, Ho Chi Minh, Asif Din, Václav Havel, Graham Saville, No Surrender, Percy Fender, Guerrilla Cricket.
Welcome again to Guerrilla Cricket. Now, if you want to give a youngster a beautifully illustrated, easy to understand book to get them enthused about cricket, what choices are there? Well, if you Google my first cricket book, you'll find out a couple of things. Firstly, there aren't that many options, and secondly, they don't come that cheap. Our game doesn't always do a great job of igniting the enthusiasm of youngsters, and their parents for that matter. And a decline in participation numbers rather sadly testifies to that. But there is hope, and that hope comes from Zulu Natal in the shape of How's That, a beginner's guide to the game of cricket. It's a small but beautiful book with a big story to tell, and I'm delighted to have with me today its author, Michel Lang. Michel, welcome.
Thank you so much, Tony. I appreciate this opportunity to chat to you.
That's a great pleasure. Now, it's small, it's beautifully illustrated, and it's really simple in explaining the rules of cricket. Tell me a little bit about what really makes it different to other cricket books.
Tony, I think the fact that I was probably a parent of 4 sons, and I didn't understand the game at all when I first started watching the game. As a matter of fact, my very first date with my husband happened to be to a cricket match at Kingsmead. And I really didn't understand much, but then having had 4 sons, I realized that I'd better get to know this game. So one of my sons was actually a very talented cricket player, and I realized at the time that there wasn't a little record-keeping book for him. The school had, but not for him, so I decided to work on something like that. And then took it to the next level of actually learning the game and writing the rules out, and having it beautifully illustrated. So it's actually a very simple and easy book to understand. There's lovely illustrations. It's illustrated for children, but at the same time, it's not. It shouldn't be anything that it shouldn't put people off. Older players. I've had mums reading it and have been delighted sitting on the side of the field, being able to understand. It's quite simple to understand.
Well, that really sort of answers my next question in a way, because I was going to ask who it's. Having read it, it's a good refresher to anybody, even somebody who spends a lot of their life watching cricket. But when you set about writing it, who did you have in mind? Who were you aiming it at?
I was aiming it at new players to the game, those who didn't understand the game of cricket, because it can be quite confusing when you sitting on the sidelines trying to watch this game between two teams and you really have got no idea what's going on. So it was aimed towards people who don't, children at that time, because I was a mum sitting on the side of the field and I felt the children needed a book, but it also taught me. And then I realized as I got further along the line that actually the mums were enjoying it as well. It was very easy to understand, simple and easy to understand.
Well, that's brilliant. I mean, and it feels like such a simple idea and kind of one that's time is right, I suppose. Yet there don't seem to be that many similar books out there in either content, low price, or in the sort of degree of simplicity they have. Well, why do you think that is?
Tony, I don't know if people are changing from the paperback versions and maybe life has become a bit more digital and children are playing games now on computers rather than getting out and playing cricket games and soccer and sort of sports, whatever. So I'm not 100% sure why, but I just aimed at keeping it very simple and keeping it affordable. I think that was the other thing, is affordability. I think that's very important, is to be able to offer the book at a very affordable price for anyone to be able to
well, we'll certainly go on and talk about that, but you've mentioned the price there, so I think it's £3.50 in UK money, which is about $4.60. So it's under $5 if you're in the US. It's under £4 by a long way if you're in the UK. So it certainly is fantastically affordable for the beautiful little product that it is. Now you say that the mission for How's That, with 3 T's, I think representing the 3 stumps from what I worked out. Yeah, you say the mission is to be ambassadors for the sport of cricket by assisting with education of the youth, the growth and development of the game within our communities, and by providing them with education and equipment. Now that's a brave and brilliant objective. Is the book already helping towards achieving that objective?
Yes. So what we did last year during COVID, we decided that. Although we had the book available in English for the English medium children, we actually didn't have it available for the isiZulu children and the Xhosa children and other children in our country. So during the time when we were all in lockdown, we decided to translate the book into isiZulu. That was the first one. And so we've been working with Dolphins, which is the KwaZulu-Natal franchise. It's Hollywood Bets Dolphins. Mm-hmm. With Heinrich Stradum, and they are very interested in taking into their development hubs, because they go into the rural communities, the actual players, and they teach the skills of cricket to the young children in the different rural areas. They've got something like 15 different hubs with about 90 different schools that they approach. And so they're looking at least 5,000 isiZulu books to take to those young children. And so that is the first book we've translated. We're looking at doing it in Xhosa now as well. And and then from there we are looking at also going into Aboriginal dialects, and I'm working with a gentleman in Australia, Mr. Ken Jacobs, who is wanting to form a business partnership with me. The two of us are looking at that, to convert the book, not convert so much as to translate the book into a whole lot of different languages. So it's available, it's affordable, it's available to different children in different countries, and not just the children, but to different cultures.
That's very exciting, and we'll certainly talk a little bit about those growth plans as you conquer the cricket world to bring young folk into the game, which is such a commendable objective. But let's just talk about the book and its format as well a little bit, because it looks beautiful in print, but there's also an interactive app-based version, isn't there? So you're very much in the modern world in the way that you're distributing it, and people, I believe, can choose both, or one or the other.
That's right, yes. So we do have the book in paperback, and we do have the book in EPUB version. The EPUB version is on it's available on the Cricket South Africa app as a downloadable version, excuse me, as well as through our website. And one would download it literally with a click onto your cell phone and be able to read the entire book on your cell phone. So it's available for you on the side of the cricket, on the boundary view as such, if you're needing to look up certain rules and regulations and how to hold a ball and whatever certain umpire signal might mean.
Well, that's fantastic. So I should tell people who are listening that if you're watching this on video, the link to where you can get it will be on that video. If you're listening it on podcast, then you'll also find in the blurb that, and if you read the article on our website, then it's included as part of that article. So wherever you happen to be engaging with this chat I'm having with Michelle, you will find a link to that book as well. Now, it's got quite a little history, hasn't it, really, the book? Because didn't it first start as far back as 1998?
It certainly did, yes. So as I mentioned, my one son was playing cricket, and I realised that there was no place for them to have their own personal record keeping. It was all done through the school books. And so I developed that. Nowadays, of course, there's lots of apps that one can choose from to be able to do that. But in those days, you didn't really record your own cricket records. The school had it, or the club had it, and that was it. So that's how the sort of idea started. And then we managed to put the rules together as well. And I sent it off to Dr. Ali Bacher and the late Bob Wilmer, and were delighted when they both endorsed the book. And because they were both very much into cricket development as well. And they saw it as a great opportunity to get the game of cricket out there.
Well, that's quite some endorsement for starters, for sure. Now, it's also a bit of a family affair, isn't it? I looked inside the front cover, and there's quite a lot of Langs doing various things apart from you writing it. So tell us a little bit about the family involvement there. Okay, so I have married into a cricket crazy family, and that's how it all started. As I say, my first date with my husband was to a game of cricket at Kingsmead. He's a man after my own heart. That's real style. I'm impressed with that.
That was the first date. So I guess I must have, maybe he bowled a maiden over, and we stuck together. And anyway, we landed up having 4 sons, and they are all cricket crazy. And the eldest one, Dylan, was actually the one who got me inspired for the game way back in 1997, 98. And anyway, I did the whole book, then got the endorsements, and from there it kind of got put to sleep for a while, because life carries on and one does all sorts of other things and grows families, etc. And it resurrected itself about 3 years ago, where the whole family had now since grown up. So yes, they are very much involved now, not just as young boys, but they now are very much involved in the game of cricket as well, and were involved in helping me finally put the book again into paperback version. So Dylan has done all the illustrations. He's a sound engineer by profession, but he's also incredibly creative. So he fortunately helped me put the actual book together. Ryan did all the research. My husband's current affairs, so he has to let me know what's going on all the time in the rest of the cricketing world, because I'm totally focused on the book and the development of cricket and getting the book out there to the children. And the other boys are there on the sideline, all putting their pennies worth in as well. But very much a family affair, and they've got a mum who's now become a cricket crazy fanatic as well. So yeah, it's something that we all enjoy.
Well, those illustrations are certainly beautiful. Now, so you indeed took it first to Cricket South Africa, and that was at that point that Dr. Ali Bakker, the late Bob Warmer, endorsed it. But then you've now working very closely with Dolphins, who are the Hollywood Bets Dolphins, who are the franchise who play from out of Kingsmead, aren't they? And you've got them distributing the book through their players, which is very exciting. You've translated it already into Zulu. So it's in English and Zulu.
That's correct.
So you're on a real mission to extend this book, which is fantastic. Tell us, how is the rest of that going? You started to tell me a little bit earlier about some of the other countries and ways you're taking it to the world. How's that going?
Yes. So our next objective is to do it in Xhosa, which is another of the South African dialects, and it has a very big following in cricket. There's a lot of Xhosa players and a large following of young players. So that's what we'd like to do next, and we're hoping to work with Cricket South Africa on that one. And then very excited about the fact that I have made contact about 2.5 years ago with a gentleman called Mr. Ken Jacobs. He's a sports promoter from Australia, and he had seen the book through LinkedIn and was quite taken by it as well. And he had actually also played cricket with Dr. Ali Bakker. And felt that if Dr. Ali Bakker had endorsed it, there's got to be something behind it. So we've been chatting over the years, and yeah, it's got to the point now where we are looking at forming a business venture, and our objective is to translate the book into some of the Aboriginal dialects. There's quite a few of them, apparently, I suppose, a bit like our African dialects. We've got something like 11 official languages here in South Africa. So I'm not too sure about how many dialects there are in the Aboriginal communities. But yeah, we're going to be working on that. And then also, he is involved with Cricket Without Borders. He's a director with them. And he feels that we can get the book into some of the South Pacific islands, Vanuatu, Indonesia, and then also as far as Japan and Peru and all sorts. So we are looking at being able to offer the book in different translations. We're wanting to keep it cheap, affordable, and a percentage of those sales to go to that particular cricketing nation towards their cricket development program. So that's kind of the idea. Big dreams, but you know, from a little mustard.
So well, let's just pause on that one a second, Michelle, because that's a very important message, I think. So for every book you sell, a proportion of the money goes to helping the developing organizations in the countries where you're selling the book. So the money, a proportion of your money goes straight to back into helping the game at grassroots level.
Correct. That's exactly what we're looking at, is to form business affiliations with different cricketing nations, and being able to offer the book to their nation in their language for their children, or not just their children, though anyone who doesn't understand the game of cricket, and thereby offering a percentage of the sale of that book back to them to be able to go into their grassroots education and development program.
Well, that we speak with a lot of folk who are engaged in that sort of thing. It just immediately occurs to me that you should meet Ebony Rainford Brent and the guys who run the Edge program in the UK out of Surrey. They're doing phenomenal work bringing the black African community back into the game of cricket, which of course has just died off over the years. You know, when you think of the great days of the West Indies and participation there now, and they're doing a phenomenal job in that area. So that's, well, at the end I'll make sure I effect that that introduction for you. Now, how many do you think you're likely to sell this year? Do you have a sort of a handle on the sales so far?
Well, you know, it's quite hard to sort of say, because one can never really gauge these things. But I think I would love to be able to say that I'm aiming at 1 million copies. And in the massive cricket world, I don't think that's a lot, actually. I think it's quite a few. It's not really that much. But I'm hoping for at least 1 million to be able to work towards that. But that's not really the objective of the game, other than the fact that obviously we'll get to 1 million players. The objective is to really just get this little book out there to the different communities and work with sponsors as well. We don't have to even sell so many books as sponsors coming on board to be able to give the books out to the children and to young cricket teams and whatever. So the objective is, yes, it is an entrepreneurial or a business as such, but there's more to it than that. And I think it's because I come from a country where it's not a very wealthy country. There obviously are parts of the country which are very wealthy, but in general, we are a country that is battling, and so we see a huge need for a lot of things. And I just believe that in my way, hopefully I can give back to something that I've got a passion for, and hopefully we can do quite a few sales, but the whole objective is to be able to get the book out there in different languages. So we'll see. I'll chat to you in a couple of months' time and let you know how that's going.
Well, that brings me to my last question, really, Michelle, because I was going to ask you. Let's project forward. It's 3 years from now, and you're looking back on the How's That journey. Where do you see both you and the book being in 3 years' time?
Okay, I am a dreamer. I'm a big dreamer. So that's actually probably.
But you're not the only one.
Absolutely. I'm a dreamer, and I do have if anybody knows me well, they'll know that I have got quite a determined personality to make something work when I've put my teeth into it. So I would love to actually see this book in at least 5 or 6 different languages. And that's just a small sort of dream. It's a much bigger dream. But I think the main thing is to get the book out there in different languages, affordable to all, and at grassroots levels. We've got mini cricket here in South Africa, which is run through KFC. And they take the child up to about 6 years old. And then I would say this is the gap between 6 and 13 years old. I see it as a development book and different languages. Hopefully that's what we can do. Ken and I can conquer the world of cricket.
Conquer the world of cricket, and by bringing more people into the game of cricket, which is phenomenal.
No, certainly not conquer it, but just get it out there. Just get it out there in an easy to read, affordable version. That's all.
Fantastic. Well, look, Michelle, it's quite a story, and we're delighted you've taken this initiative and that you're doing it. It's a little work of art. Now, let me remind you once again about the book itself. It's just 32 pages, easily digested and beautifully, simply illustrated description of the game of cricket. Costs just £3.25, which is $4.60 today on today's exchange rate in the US dollars. It's available around the world. It covers history, basic rules, cricket terms, and while showing its technicalities such as shots, fielding positions, types of bowling, etc., it achieves its simplicity without ever patronising. It's a delightfully simple, clear, graphic, and simple read. How do you get it? Well, you can go to our website at guerrillacricket.com. You can check out our social media. You'll find a link wherever you're listening to this podcast or watching this video, and you will find that will take you straight to the ebook. But from the ebook, you can also go straight to the print version if that would be your preference. So that's going to take you to wherever you need to go for the online version. You're able to order it in either format. And you will be playing your part in raising funds to support cricket development when you do. A reminder, of course, that you can get this as a this that you're listening to now as a podcast on all of our podcast platforms. And of course, if you're a Guerrilla Cricket Patreon, then you get it first and fastest. But we're on all our channels, and delighted to have had this conversation. Michelle, once again, thank you very much indeed.
Tony, thank you so much for the opportunity of chatting to you and your listeners. Very grateful for the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Guerrilla Cricket. Revolutionary cricket commentary.
Of the hospitality boxes and have to pay a lot of money to listen to Devon Malcolm, but one of the casualties of the whole biosecure thing has been the whole sort of corporate hospitality. Devon, you're an ambassador for English Cricket Board, aren't you? And you do a lot of work at these games, so you've got a bit of time on your hands, and it's Guerrilla Cricket's gain. Welcome along.
Thank you indeed. With the lockdown, you managed to get a bit of access to me right now, so in the normal times, what would happen, as you said, I do quite a lot at the test matches for the PCA, the Professional Cricket Association, via the ECB. So we normally entertain guests, say lunchtime, and even during the game, where you call the 12-man hub, or we normally do the boxes and talking about, probably the session, and entertain our punters, right through the day, and get them a bit closer. I mean, the spectators get a bit closer to us, who, when we're doing our thing on the field, they didn't have that much access. So we're a lot more closer to the fans, and a bit more accessible, put it that way.
Well, welcome to Guerrilla Cricket. As I say, it's our gain, and all those punters lost. And so, Devon, you're used to entertaining people at lunchtime. You'd be amazed at a number of our team who claim to have played against you. I've actually played with you in the Bunbury's team, but you won't remember my spell. But you might remember Hendo, aka Nigel Henderson of the Times, because he's definitely played against you, haven't you, Hendo?
Yeah, I kind of avoided 3 balls that Devon bowled at me. I think he was playing for Sheffield at the time. I was playing for York, and I don't know. I'm pretty sure he won't remember me, but he might remember. Do you remember a player called Simon Kippax, son of Peter Kippax?
Of course, son of Kippax. Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
yes.
That's right. Well, I was batting with him towards the end of the game, and this would have been 1986. Yeah. And I managed to watch you mainly from the non-strikers end. That was probably the best place to be. But I do remember Simon Kippax, who was a bit of a fiery character, running down the wicket to you in the final over of our innings. I mean, did you often have people running down the wicket to you in club cricket?
No, not really. But I mean, probably was towards the end of that over, and you were at the non-strikers end, so you can live to tell the tale. But way back in those early days in the Yorkshire League, as you said, I was playing for Sheffield United. Then, I was pretty quick, very erratic, so you could get a bouncer, you could get a beamer, anything. So it was rather silly him running down to the pitch to me, actually, because pretty brave, pretty foolhardy. But generally, like most cricket, when I get it right, whether in the Yorkshire League or all the way to international, I normally sort a few batsmen out. But in that case, yeah, it was rather it was rather brave to do that in those early stages of my career. Yeah.
Well, it was the sort of stupidity of youth, and in his case, I think.
Yeah, because Devon, you're not one of the Chris Jordans who came over on a cricket scholarship. You emigrated at 16 and had to work your way through playing for Yorkshire schools, right? You came here from Jamaica at the age of 16. Is that right?
Yes, as I said, as you said, actually, yeah. My dad was, just after Windrush, early 60s. So I joined him later on, as a 16-year-old here, as a student, and we lived in Sheffield. So, I didn't even play any cricket for a couple of years. While I was in Sheffield, I normally run around with my mates on the street playing football. And one weekend, one of my mates dragged me and said, look, the West Indies were touring actually in the early 80s. And he said, I bet you can play cricket. I said, matter of fact, I used to play when I was in Jamaica. So he took me off to, he dragged me off to a place called Shire Green in Sheffield to have a ball at a couple of the guys there, and these big men. And I had them jumping around for their life. And they asked me, who do I play for? And he said, my mate doesn't play cricket, sir. He hasn't played for a few years. And he said, you must be joking. And it just happened very, very quickly from then. You know, as I said, I was at Richmond College. I was doing okay. I got a cricket club in the league, doing all right. And I got hooked up from there to playing senior school cricket. And, I played in York in the early 80s. I reckon it was 81.
You had to
Metcalf and all those guys.
But you had to leave Yorkshire to get a game in professional cricket, because Yorkshire had a policy of only playing people born in Yorkshire.
Indeed, that's exactly how it was then. Way back then, you couldn't play for Yorkshire. And I said I play Yorkshire Senior School, and they actually advised me, said, look, in the early days, you've got some pace, you've got some potential, but the rule is that you haven't been born in Yorkshire. Even Michael Vaughan later on, he wouldn't be able to play for Yorkshire because born in Lancashire. So I was told that probably have to look somewhere else to play. Probably that's the highest level I could represent Yorkshire. That was senior school. So an incident happened where I managed to played in the Yorkshire League. I was selected in 1984 in a Yorkshire League Select 11 versus Yorkshire County Cricket Club. At a place called Castleford, and so as you said, I was at college, so I nicked the Friday off college, went to Castleford to play. Opened the batting was Martin Moxon and Jeff Boycott. And it was just one of those things. You're at the right place. Talent is one thing, but you got to be at the right place at the right time. Running, as I said, it was early March in 1984. Running to bowl my first over at Martin Moxon. I clean bowled him with the Yorker, his middle peg out of the ground. My second over, same fate happened to a guy called Mr. Jeff Boycott. I clean bowled him as well with the Yorker, knocked his stump out of the ground. And for the first time in the league history, actually, York